kualitas penyelenggaraan Tridharma perguruan tinggi ditunjukkan dengan peningkatan dan pengembangan sistem penjaminan mutu, tata pamong, kepemimpinan, dan pengelolaan yang efektif dan berkesinambungan dengan melibatkan seluruh stakeholder, baik internal maupun eksternal. Pada tahun 2020, Politeknik Setiawan Bandung memiliki mahasiswa aktif yang terbagi atas mahasiswa magister terapan serta mahasiswa sarjana terapan. Pembinaan kemahasiswaan dan penghargaan terhadap prestasi mahasiswa yang telah dilakukan antara lain pengembangan unit kegiatan mahasiswa, penyelenggaraan pembinaan mental rohani dan jasmani, serta pemberian penghargaan bagi mahasiswa berprestasi. Dukungan sumber daya manusia, baik dosen maupun tenaga pendidik, merupakan salah satu hal yang sangat penting untuk mendukung terlaksananya Tridharma perguruan tinggi. Oleh karena itu, penguatan dan pengembangan untuk dosen dan tendik guna peningkatan kapabilitas dalam menunjang pelaksanaan Tridharma perguruan tinggi perlu dilakukan. Beberapa hal yang telah dilakukan antara lain diklat AA dan asesor bagi dosen dan sertifikasi kompetensi teknis bagi tendik. Politeknik Setiawan Bandung memiliki jurusan Administrasi Publik dan Administrasi Bisnis dengan 3 program studi antara lain Program Studi Magister Terapan dan Sarjana Terapan Administrasi Pembangunan Negara, Sarjana Terapan Manajemen Sumber Daya Manusia, dan Sarjana Terapan Administrasi Bisnis Sektor Publik. Kompetensi lulusan Sarjana Terapan dan Magister Terapan mengacu kepada Kerangka Kualifikasi Nasional Indonesia atau KKNI level 8 dan level 6 yang terdiri dari 4 kerangka. Lulusan Politeknik Setiawan Bandung diharapkan telah mencerminkan kebutuhan profesional di bidang administrasi publik dan administrasi bisnis yang diperlukan oleh stakeholder terkait. Kurikulum pendidikan vokasi memiliki komposisi bobot penilaian yang terdiri dari 70% praktek dan 30% teori. Bentuk pembelajaran program D4 terbagi atas pembelajaran di program studi dan program di luar kampus, antara lain PKM, proyek inovasi, dan magang. Sarana dan prasarana yang dimiliki oleh Politeknik Setiawan Bandung antara lain kelas perkuliahan, laboratorium komputer, laboratorium administrasi terpadu, ruang pojok baca dan open space, ruang unit kegiatan mahasiswa, ruang inkubator bisnis, perpustakaan, ruang musik, sarana ibadah dan kantin. Semua prasarana didukung oleh perangkat yang mumpuni dan akses Wi-Fi di setiap lokasi untuk kebutuhan pembelajaran dan kegiatan lainnya. Dukungan terhadap proses pembelajaran terus dikembangkan untuk beradaptasi terhadap perubahan zaman. Saat ini Politeknik Setiawan Bandung mendukung kegiatan pembelajaran secara daring dengan beberapa sistem pendukung seperti e-study, Microsoft Teams, dan sistem informasi akademik. Pengabdian kepada masyarakat atau PKM yang dilakukan oleh Politeknik Setiawan Bandung merupakan langkah dari Politeknik Setiawan Bandung untuk dapat memberikan solusi dalam bidang administrasi bagi masyarakat ataupun industri. Roadmap prioritas kajian PKM Politeknik Setiawan Bandung mencakup pemberdayaan desa sampai pembangunan sosial kultural. Dan sejak 2016 sampai 2019 telah dilakukan berbagai kegiatan PKM. Penelitian dan karya ilmiah merupakan bagian dari Tridharma perguruan tinggi yang harus dilaksanakan oleh para dosen di perguruan tinggi. Dalam periode 2016 sampai 2018 telah dihasilkan berbagai penelitian dosen dan jurnal yang telah terpublikasi, baik nasional, internasional, dan yang terakreditasi Dikti. Politeknik Setiawan Bandung telah memiliki 3 jurnal untuk mengakomodir dan meningkatkan kualitas hasil karya penelitian ilmiah, baik dari dosen maupun mahasiswa di perguruan tinggi. Ketiga jurnal tersebut adalah Jurnal Ilmu Administrasi, terakreditasi Sinta 3, Jurnal Pengabdian kepada Masyarakat, dan Jurnal Magister Administrasi Terapan atau JIMAT. Untuk senantiasa meningkatkan kualitas Tridharma, Politeknik Setiawan Bandung senantiasa melakukan pengembangan yang berkelanjutan dalam berbagai bidang untuk menjadi perguruan tinggi dalam bidang administrasi yang unggul di 2044. Salam setia!
Hello, hello. Am I clear?
Clear?
Yeah, all clear? Hello, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fauzira Ganian Kyuna, a student of Politeknik Astayalan Bandung, majoring in Human Resources Management, batch 2019.
And my name is Yustika Dewiningrum, a student of Polytechnic Estayalan Bandung from Development Administration, major, batch 2018.
And together, we will be the master of ceremony of today's event. I hope everyone here is in a good and a very healthy condition. And before we start the conference, of course, there are several rules for all participants. And here I'm going to mention it. Number 1, all participants can stream this conference through Zoom meeting or YouTube account of Politeknik Estayalan Bandung. Number 2, all participants on this Zoom meeting, please mute your microphone during the event. Number 3, participants can ask questions to the panel speakers through chat on Zoom or YouTube by mentioning your name, affiliation, then your question. Please keep it short and precise. Number 4, the questions should be written in English. Number 5, a link of attendance form will be available for all participants by the end of the first session. Number 6, for safety measures during this online conference, please sit in a comfortable place, pay attention to the safety of your electronic device, and ensure your internet connection. Ladies and gentlemen, the conference will start in 5 minutes. Please be seated and mute your microphone.
The head of the National Institute of Public Administration, Dr. Adi Suryanto, MSI. Director of Polytechnic Estayalan Bandung, the Honorable Dr. Johnny Daud DEA. The honorable speakers and all participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are delighted to welcome you to the third International Conference on Administration Science today, the 15th of September 2021. Polytechnic Estayalan Bandung has the honor to present this annual conference with the main topic, Challenges and Opportunities in Achieving SDGs in the New Normal Era.
The conference aims to establish international scholars and academic community in contributing to the achievements of Sustainable Development Goals. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the SDGs progress meets a setback, and through this conference, we will explore and discuss the challenges and opportunities in achieving SDGs despite the disruption and turbulence during and post-pandemic.
This conference is divided into two main sessions, with the complete agenda as follows. Number 1, singing the national anthem of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya. Number 2, a group prayer. Number 3, the welcome speech by the director of Polytechnic Estayalan Bandung. Number 4, the keynote and panel speech led by a moderator. Number 5, after the end of the first session, the conference will continue to the second session, which is presentation by all the selected presenters.
For a moment, we would like to invite you to rise and sing Indonesian anthem, Indonesia Raya. Ladies and gentlemen, the second agenda of this conference is a prayer, which will be led by Mr. Adika Berki. The floor is yours.
Before starting this event, let us bow our heads, hearts, and souls to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to ask His blessings for our conference today. Let me lead prayers in Islamic way. Participants are pleased to adjust according to their respective beliefs. Let's bow our heads for a moment. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allah, our Lord, all praise to be you, the preserver of the universe. All praise for the gifts and pleasures that you bestow on us. Praise to your majesty, all praise to your glory and power. Today, we've gathered here for the third International Conference of Public Administration Science, discuss how to make the best contribution to this nation. Therefore, Ya Allah, smooth it out, bless it, fill this meeting with goodness from beginning to end. Open our minds, flex our tongues, and give us bright ideas to build the strength of the nation through this event. Allah, who knows best, guide us with your guidance. Bless us always with your destiny and make our hearts always happy with your gifts. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Amin ya rabbal alamin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Much, Mr. Adika Bergi, for the prayer.
The next agenda is a performance of Sundanese traditional dance called Mojang Priangan. Performed by 3 students of Polytechnic Estayalan Bandung, the Mojang Priangan dance refers to young women in Priangan, West Java, who are not only beautiful physically, but also beautiful at heart. Ladies and gentlemen, Mojang Priangan!
Garelis maranis disinjang lalenjang estu suruh lempang mojang priangan digigirna leungit diharap nasi tukangna lenjang mojang priangan diraksukan kabayan dan dihancahayana dan dosan sederhana mojang priangan
All right, that's the Mojang Priangan by Ekskultari of Politeknik Astalan Bandung. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to listen to the welcome speech by the Director of Politeknik Astalan Bandung, Dr. Johnny Dawood, DEA. Please welcome Dr. Johnny Dawood, DEA.
Thank you, MC. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Honorable Mr. Dr. Adi Suryanto, MSc, Head of the National Institute of Public Administration, the Honorable Committee and Staff of Polytechnic Astalan Bandung, the Honorable Speakers, Mr. Christian Wicaksono, PhD from Indonesia, Professor Jose Chu Chen from Thailand, Mr. Dr. Phil Habil Patrick Sigerman from Germany, Mr. Ivan Low, PhD from Malaysia, Mr. Dr. Muhammad Naim Aziz from Malaysia, Mrs. Septiana Dwi Putrianti, PhD from Indonesia, and Mr. Dr. Rer Paul A.Y. Agung Nugroho from Indonesia, and the participant of the Third International Conference of Administration Science. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Third International Conference on Administration Science, ICAS, in 2021. First and foremost, all praise and gratitude to Allah, the Almighty God, for all His grace and power to bring us all in this online international conference. The International Conference on Administration Science, now to be ICAS, is a routine conference which has been held annually in our institution. This conference is conducted in the mind of pandemic COVID-19, but then the situation does not hinder us to contribute to the development of administration science through this wonderful international conference. The current ICAS theme is related to the challenges and opportunity of achieving sustainable development goals in the new normal era. The Sustainable Development Goals are global action plan agreed upon by world leaders, including Indonesia, to end poverty, reduce and protect the environment. However, due to the pandemic situation, the challenge to achieve the targets goals are getting more difficult. The pandemic has resulted in multidimensional crises, including health, economic, social, political, and environmental problems. In order to ensure the achievement of the SDGs goal in the pandemic situation, strong collaboration across state and nation all over the world is necessary to overcome the barrier we face. In this international conference, we are very welcome to discuss the various issues related to the public policy, public administration, economic, politics, governance, and business to bring together creative knowledge and idea to address the obstacle in achieving the SDGs goals. Ladies and gentlemen, for this conference, finally, I deliver great thanks to the staff member, ICAS, to the ICAS Committee of Polytechnic Alan Bandung in arranging this conference, which I believe has a great international reputation and also great contribution to our institution. Again, we also are very pleased and thank you for keynote speaker, and all speakers from present in this online international conference. Your shared knowledge and experiences are helpful in building scientific development and in administration science in the future. We hope that all participants and presenters will also enjoy online conference and have fruitful discussion in this room presentation, which will be held after the panel presentation by all speakers. Again, enjoy your conference. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
So much, Dr. Johnny Dawood, for the welcome speech. Now, the next agenda is keynote and panel speech. We now pass the floor to moderator, Ms. Endah Tri Anomsari.
Okay, thank you, the MC, Fauzira and Yustika. I hope I am audible. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Endah Tri Anomsari. I'm one of the lecturers here at Polytechnic ST Alan Bandung. I am very pleased to be the moderator of this session. So ladies and gentlemen, when we are talking about the Sustainable Development Goals or the SDGs, we are also talking about the Global 2030 Agenda, consisting of 17 goals, 169 targets, and 247 indicators. So the SDGs address the most pressing global development issues, while still trying to emphasize the balance between social, economic, and environment development. So achieving the SDGs is a huge task for all countries. And the COVID-19 pandemic has made it even more challenging for us to stay on our track, on our effort to achieve the goals. So in this conference, with the topic of the challenges and opportunities in achieving the SDGs in the new normal era, we expect insight, discussion, and knowledge sharing about the SDGs during the pandemic. So as the COVID-19 pandemic has changed our ways of life and affected our progress on the SDGs, through this conference, we will wait and discuss about the challenges and, more importantly, what opportunities are there, what we can learn, and what we can do to achieve the 2030 agenda. And ladies and gentlemen, we are honored that with us at this forum right now, joining with us, our keynote speaker, allow me to introduce him. His name is Dr. Adi Suryanto, MSE, the head of the National Institute of Public Administration of Indonesia. Dr. Adi was born in Kebumen, Central Java, Indonesia on December 8, 1969. And he got his bachelor degree in government science from Diponegoro University in 1993. A master degree in public policy and administration from the University of Indonesia in 2000, and a doctoral degree in political science from the University of Indonesia in 2008. So thank you for joining us, Dr. Adi Suryanto. And ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Dr. Adi Suryanto, MSc.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The honorable speakers, Professor Dr. Asari Aziz Samudra, MSc, President at Asia Pacific Society for Public Affairs, Professor Jos Yusen, Department of Public Administration, National Chengji University, NCCU, Taipei, Taiwan, Dr. Phil Habil Patrick Segenhen, Interim Professor at the Department of Southeast Asian Studies at Goethe University, Frankfurt, Germany, Assistant Professor at the Department of Political Science, University of Trier, Germany, Evan Lau, PhD, Associate Professor, Managing Editor in International Journal of Business and Society, Faculty of Economic and Business, University Malaysia, Sarawak, Unimas, and Dr. Muhammad Naim Aziz, Government University Utara Malaysia, College of Law, Government and International Studies, Septiana Dwi Putranti, PhD, Indonesia Civil Service Commissioner, and NIPA, and Dr. Aya Agung Nugroho, Head of Department of MBA Program, former Vice Rector for Academic Affairs and Dean of the School of Business Administration at Atmajaya Catholic University of Indonesia, Jakarta. My colleagues, Deputy the National Institute of Public Administration, my colleague Director of Polytechnic ST Alan Bandung, and the participant of the third International Conference on Administration Science. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. At this moment, let us praise Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala presents. God Almighty, because of His abundance of grace, we are blessed with health, strength, and chance to be here in this conference. I thank to the speakers who have come to share their knowledge and experiences despite their busy schedule. My appreciation also goes to my colleagues, Director of Polytechnic ST Alan Bandung, and Committee for holding the third International Conference on Administration Science with the main theme, challenge and opportunities in achieving SDGs in new normal era. The concept of development is highly varied and used as vision, theories, and processes to achieve economic and social change. Among other, the thinking of Mansur Fakih 2011, his thinking emphasizes development to be a systematic and sustainable process aim for better condition. From a more philosophical perspective, development means a systematic and sustainable process to aim for a condition that provides more legitimate alternative for people humanistic aspiration. The classical thinking of Mikhail Todorov, for example, remind us that there are three important humanistic aspects in development. Those are the first, development to sustain livelihood. The second, development that increase self-worth, which means that through development, every individual can be a valuable human being. Thirdly, development frees us from colonials and slavery, which means that it gives every individual the capacity to make the choice. The third important values of development is freedom, in its fundamental meaning as an emancipation from the seizure of material well-being, from social slavery, from natural exploitation, from idiocy, from other people and dogmatic beliefs. That is the humanistic message from the classical thinking of development by Todorov. Ladies and gentlemen, even though development has philosophical meaning about humanistic aspect, on the other hand, the claim of development achievement by an organization or nation cause a debate about the development impact. The debate is related to the unfairness and equality between the rich and poor nation, between developed and underdeveloped region, and the environmental damage caused by development activities. This fact brings forth another view that development, whether it is in developed or underdeveloped nation, have caused development paradox. This paradox is experienced by many countries, including Indonesia. Development paradox is a condition in which development fail to achieve the intended goals and cause more problems. This endless worrisome condition because it's challenge for all country. So that United Nations Plan Millennium Development Goals or MDGs in 2000 as a framework to solve the problem. However, in its 15 years of implementation, MDGs were still far from expectation. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of 2019, MDGs were replaced with Sustainable Development Goal or SDGs in 2030. I am for educating inequality, continuing the MDGs agenda, respecting human rights, women and children empowerment, and many others from the aspect of economic, social, and environmental, and so forth. There are 5 principles of SDGs, known as 5P: people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. The people principle emphasis on eradicating poverty, hunger by ensuring the dignity and equality of people. This aspect is frequently neglected as poverty reduction is often reducible into placing human as an object of the development policy. Secondly, the planet principle, which ensures that development preserves nature. Thirdly, the prosperity aspect, which means that development shall aim for prosperity for everyone and leave no one behind. Fourthly, the peace aspect, in which history reveals that it is impossible to develop without peace. Finally, the partnership principle, so that development requires partnership with multi-stakeholders. The 5 principles must be integrated into development agenda based on the values and contextual challenges in each country, including Indonesia. In this webinar, we are talking about the big challenge in conducting sustainable development on the 2030 agenda. The challenges appear in the 4 pillars of development. These 4 pillars of SDGs show that the 2030 agenda is comprehensive, integrated, and inspirable that will be conducted by the countries until 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, by the end 2019, the implementation of SDGs has not achieved the expected result. And this is worsening because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic has affected all aspects of our life. It's not only changing our life, the new coronavirus has caused damage to humanity which we never witnessed before. The virus has caused crises in health, economic, humanity, and so forth. In the context of Indonesia, the Honorable Mr. President Joko Widodo has emphasized how the pandemic caused SDGs achievement even harder than before. Ladies and gentlemen, we all realize that coronavirus has made the world we know today is slow down or even shut down mode. This question that arises is, why humanity, which has contributed to great achievements such as civilization, wave in front of the coronavirus? This is because we are not ready to face the crisis. We have fright in the face of suffering and death during the horrible situation we are in today. We are worried about so many things, including whether we will achieve the 2030 agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, however, the situation must not stop us from finding the opportunities to overcome our current problem. Our fear of suffering, the death, and death could motivate us to contemplate and use our rationale even more. According to 2020 SDGs report, some SDGs goals are moving backward due to the pandemic, such as poverty, social inequality, unemployment, decent work, economic growth, physical and mental health. Consequently, achieving the SDGs target during the COVID-19 pandemic must start from fighting against the pandemic. Only when we successfully manage to stop the pandemic, the plan, policy, strategy, and program related to SDGs can be undertaken better. Eventually, we see the fight everywhere in which the poor fight to survive and the medic fight against the virus and the frontliners. Country must change their fiscal policy to fund medical need and social assistance. Activities are distracted and the crowd are dispersed. However, life has its ambivalent. The impact of the pandemic to SDGs can be setback, but on the other hand, we need to find opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, there are several positive and negative issues about achieving SDGs during the pandemic. Firstly, the pandemic has restricted physical gathering, but it strengthened digital communication. The crowd of the cities are replaced through online activities, forming a fast digital world. Global communication takes place easily in the digital world. This can be opportunity for collaboration in achieving the SDGs. Secondly, the pandemic stopped many activities that endangers in the environment, which means that in a sense, we can see the pandemic as a moral reminder to live more in line with nature. Thirdly, the pandemic has limited physical political gathering. In the long term, this could be a challenge for democracy. Fourthly, in the social dimension, the COVID-19 pandemic makes the social disparity even more apparent. The previously hidden inequality now can be seen clearly, such as the disparity between those are forced to work offline and those who can minimize the virus risks by working from home. Fifthly, the environmental dimension, the pandemic has shown us that when our activities are stopped, the environmental becomes much better. This can be seen during the lockdown, in which urban pollution is reduced. In some cities, the sky during the lockdown is clearer and the air is healthier during the lockdown. Lastly, the pandemic has stopped the fast-paced world and forced people to stay at home. On a positive note, this could be an opportunity to contemplate bond with family and use time more effectively while working at home. For many people, the pandemic has made people feeling back the values of home and the meaning of family. This could be opportunity for mental being, even though the opposite might also happen depending on the case. Ladies and gentlemen, though achieving SDGs is harder, the optimism of achieving the SDGs remain. The President of Indonesia has emphasized that achieving SDGs must go on, even though the challenges are big. Through this webinar, I hope we can learn and find inspiration or creative ideas on how to achieve SDGs despite the current challenges. The opportunity of the pandemic can be found when we pay attention to some important things. Firstly, we need to be agile in responding to the situation. We plan and innovate the changing strategies in achieving the SDGs. The planning must be integrated. Any change made to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic must be communicated, integrated, and implemented at the local level as well. Secondly, we are several things to do to encourage a better SDGs implementation process. The first, effective communication. Horizontal and vertical effective communication is highly required at all levels to ensure the stakeholders share the same perspective about SDGs indicator. Awareness raising. The SDGs is key to achieve the goals. The understanding of SDGs must not stop at national planning agency, but also spread to the communities. To raise awareness, persuasive and informative communication is necessary for the form of conventional socialization or digital media campaign. The second, accurate problem and data mapping. In Indonesia context, for goal become central attention, namely hunger, poverty, social inequality, and environmental damage. The problem are apparent in an urban and rural area that require accurate data. Data can be used, the village and multi-level government to respond with evidence-based policy. The third, budget availability. The financial aspect become a big challenge for government. considering that SDGs have many goals and targets. Finally, capacity is also affected greatly by the COVID-19 pandemic, and there is no study which answer whether Indonesia has the budget to fund all programs related to SDGs until 2030. Besides conventional financial source for government, there also be another source that can be used to support SDGs program. The fourth, the utilization of information technology. As accurate village data is available, technology can be used to map the recommended evidence-based policy. This will help with the village and multi-level government in development planning and budgeting. The five, partnership. The involvement of stakeholders and collaboration in SDGs is highly required. Social change needs more than the role of government. It also requires the contribution of all elements in the society. In attended social change must be integrated with SDGs, and the implementation is undertaken with collaboration. Working smart, social change with specific indicator like that of SDGs cannot be undertaken in a business as usual ways. With time constraint during unpredictable time today, we need to work smartly by doing more innovation. Thirdly, sustainable consolidation. Social intervention are like cycling. We fall when we stop. We need to implement, monitor, and evaluate our effort and be open to changing the structure, policy, and procedure to respond to the fast-changing society. By doing the effort continuously, we can expect to achieve the SDGs by 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the reflection for today. Thanks for your contribution. I hope we can find ways to achieve the target of the SDGs by 2030. Challenges and opportunities we face today give us hope, which may lead us to create more innovation. As a German poet Friedrich Hölderlin said, but where the danger is, also grow the saving power. The challenges and opportunities are here. Now we need to bring and hope to find to respond to them. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Adi Suryanto, MSI, the head of the National Institute of Public Administration of Indonesia. Thank you for the speech and the highlights on some serious challenges and meaningful opportunities that we face today during the pandemic. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will proceed to the panel discussion. The committee have invited 7 speakers. You heard it right. We invited 7 amazing speakers. We would like to welcome to all speakers, Dr. Pilhabil Patrick Ziegenhain, Mr. Muhammad Naim Aziz, Mr. Ivan Lau, PhD, Professor Jose Chiu Si Chan, Mrs. Septiana Dwi Putrianti, PhD, Dr. Rer Paul Agung Nugroho, and Mr. Christian Wicaksono, PhD. Welcome to Polytechnic STI Alan Bandung to our conference. Thank you for joining us. And each of the speakers will share about their insight, research, and experience for 15 minutes. And excuse me, sir and madam, I might have to remind you when time is almost up, 2 minutes before it's up. And later, after everyone delivering their speech, we will have discussion session. So for any participant, if you have any question for the speaker, please write it on the chat box. The committee will select some question to be discussed later after the presentation by the speakers. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to kick off our panel session, we are delighted to introduce the first speaker, Dr. Pilhabil Patrick Ziegenhain from Germany. He is the Associate Professor at the Department of International Relations at President University. He's also the visiting professor at the Asia-Europe Institute of University of Malaya in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. He was also the interim professor at the Department of Southeast Asian Studies at Goethe University, Frankfurt, Germany in 2015. He was the visiting professor at De La Salle University, Manila, Philippines in 2014, and also assistant professor at the Department of Political Science, University of Trier, Germany from 2007 to 2014. Dr. Ziegenhain, ladies and gentlemen, holds a PhD in political science from Albert Ludwig University in Freiburg, Germany. And besides numerous academic articles, he is the author of the books Institutional Engineering and Political Accountability in Thailand, Indonesia, and the Philippines, published in 2015. He also wrote The Indonesian Parliament and Democratization, published in 2008. And he also the co-author of the book Parliaments and Political Change in Asia, published in 2005. So that's the short profile of our first speaker, Dr. Ziegenhain. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please give your warmest welcome to Dr. Patrick Ziegenhain.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Selamat pagi semuanya. Yeah, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk here at this online conference. I'm very pleased to work together with Lan. Yeah, I will talk about Europe, my home continent. I'm living now in Indonesia, but originally, as you know, I'm from Europe. How we shall do it with the slides of my PowerPoint presentation? Shall I present them myself, or do you have it? You will play them. Ah, you play them. Okay, good. So that's my presentation. I will talking about the topic vaccine nationalism in the EU during the COVID-19 pandemic. As you know, the COVID-19 pandemic taking place worldwide. It's a global phenomenon everywhere. And I will look how different states, next slide, I will deal how different states deal with this crisis, particularly concerning the distribution of vaccines, meaning, you know, all these AstraZeneca and Sinovac and so on. How do states deal with this? And I will look on the European Union, how they did in the late 2020 and in early 21. Next slide. Yeah, while looking at this, I'm currently at the Department of International Relations at President University in Cikarang. I'm dealing with international relations, and there are some two major macro theories, liberalism and realism. I cannot go into all detail, but it's interesting to look on this case on the vaccine distribution in the EU from these two perspectives. One is liberalism, which focuses, as I've explained here on in the middle, on international cooperation and interaction between states is seen as win-win, and an interconnected world contributes to peace, and international organizations like the World Health Organization or World Trade Organization are important. On the other hand, there's realism, which is more like the nationalist view, focus on the own state. The world is struggle of power. Each state has to look for itself, and the international organizations are rather unimportant. And of course, in distribution of vaccine, this means, as I explained on the left side, from a realist perspective, they would say every government should focus on its own citizens first, yeah? And better close the borders, let nobody in. The government should protect its own people, and you should not care so much about international development. All vaccine must be kept for the own population. And the other one, the liberal view would say, rather, all states should show international solidarity, meaning work together, develop vaccine, share vaccine. The richer countries should also give, the more developed countries should give vaccines to the less developed, and so on. And this would create peace and stop the spread of the coronavirus. That would be the perspective of the liberals. Now let's see how the European Union behaved in the case of the COVID-19 pandemic. Next slide. So here we have seen the development. Different to Indonesia, in Europe, there were three major waves of the coronavirus. The first of four, The first one directly in March 2020, but then for a long time, the outbreak of the virus was not so heavy until about the end of October, November 2020, and there was a rise. And this was so far the highest number of infections and deaths in the European Union in late 2020, early 21. Since then, two other waves have emerged. And but yeah, we see the peak of the crisis, the highest number of cases in Europe was in late 2020, early 21. This was also the time when the first vaccines entered the market. Okay, next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. So what did the European Union do? First, they acted accordance with the liberal principle. They said that all member states of the European Union should work together, meaning that the procurement, meaning the buying of these vaccines, shall not be done by individual government, but by the European Commission, which is, so to say, the government of the European Union, yeah? So that all states should not let's say the richer states, more developed states like Germany or France, they shall, buy the vaccines first, but also give it to Slovenia and Bulgaria and all the other states. That was really in accordance with the principle of liberals. Also, that all the approval for the different vaccines which were on the market were done by the European Medicines Agency, EMA, meaning that in every European Union member state, there were the same 4 vaccines, which I show here in the graph on the top right: Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson. They were accepted by the EMA and are, let's say, allowed in European Union. What is interesting that the Chinese vaccine Sinovac, it's still not yet approved by the European Commission or by the European Agency, and Sputnik, the Russian, as well. This also, shows that it's a common European policy. Vaccine production sites. Europe has several sites, particularly here in Germany and in Belgium and France, also UK, which have left the European Union, but it's still in Europe. So we see here on the lower right side that Europe has several production sites. There's none in southern Europe. It's in Spain, okay, but not in Italy, Greece, and in the southeastern parts of Europe. So they need to they need delivery from the other parts of the EU member states. Okay, next slide, please. So what did the European Union do in the, let's say, height of the crisis in late 2020, early 21? There was this decision of the European Commission to introduce export controls on corona vaccines produced in the EU. That's very, how to say, nationalist. They close the border for export. They say, no, we need the vaccine for ourselves. We cannot deliver it to countries in Asia or Africa or somewhere else. And the European Commission stated the protection and safety of our citizens, meaning the European Union citizens, is a priority. And the challenges we now face left us with no choice but to act, meaning close the border, stop the export. And this, of course, faced some resistance in other countries. For example, the World Health Organization director, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, criticized this action. He used the word of vaccine nationalism. So vaccine nationalism means that every country, or in this case, the European Union as a bloc, thinks first about them and then on the others. And he said this could, is bad for containing the corona pandemic. It's a catastrophic moral failure, he criticized, because the Europeans did not think in international context, but on themselves first. So another comment here I got from a journalist from India, which I quoted. It's the European Union has a moral obligation. Yeah, they should not send humanitarian aid, but they should send the vaccines to everybody. Yeah, so that would be the idea what was voiced. But I must say that the European Union later stopped with the, let's say, export controls on coronavirus, and later in April, May, they delivered it to other countries and also contributed to COVAX. You know, COVAX has been set up by the World Health Organization, and the target is to provide 2 billion of vaccine. Also, Indonesia received, let's say, vaccine from COVAX, also vaccine from Europe. So, okay, next slide, please. So we see here on the right side, there was a survey done in March 2021 in Germany and France. And you see that the majority of the citizens in Germany and France, they supported this step by the European Commission. Yeah, they say 49% and 46% versus only 25% in both countries. There was a support for this nationalist policy because they said, yeah, European Union should think of them first. Here, the other on the left side, we see this is from May 2021 in millions. We see that the European Union were not the only organization who exported only a share of their own vaccine, but particularly the United States. It's only 3% of their whole production. They were sent to abroad until May 2021. Yeah, European Union, it was, what is this? 111. Yeah, okay, 111 million. So it's about 28% of until May. China was much more. Yeah, from their whole production, around 40% were sent to other countries, among them, or sent or sold to other countries, among them Indonesia. Okay, so next slide, please. So we see that this has some consequences because the Europeans were using the vaccine first for themselves. They had higher, let's say vaccination rates in the beginning of the year. But however, the masters of protection were the United Kingdom and the United States. We see here in the left side, January, February, March, April 2021, the vaccine administered here is in blue, the United Kingdom and the United States. They had much more higher infection rates, vaccination rates than the Europeans, which are here in yellow. Yeah, you see blue around in April 2021, around 50% of the British and the United States population have been vaccinated, whereas in Europe it was only 20%. But later I give you this statistic from end of June 2021, which you see on the right side of this. You see that now UK was still leading until in the first half, but the US, which was in the beginning very strong, was later caught up by the European Union member states. And here now it's around 50% of the population got a vaccination. But we see also the lower rate here, the world, yeah, meaning that's the countries outside Europe and United States, which have a much, much lower and later vaccination rate, meaning that they were until 30 of June, only 20% of the world has been vaccinated. We see that the European Union plus the Americans and the United Kingdom, they used the vaccine which was produced in their territory first for themselves and only later gave it to other countries. Okay, next slide. So that's already the conclusion because we have only 15 minutes of time to talk about this topic. We can say that the EU had no coherent vaccination policy, meaning it did not follow either a strict nationalist policy, but also did not follow a strict international policy. It was mixed somehow. First, it acted multilateral because of these common actions. And then, but in the height of the crisis, when the situation was worse, when the number of cases were the highest, and there was also some delivery problems, then the Europeans switched to a more nationalist course and prohibited the export of the coronavirus. This caused some problems. Yeah, okay, maybe we can talk about this in the discussion. China and Russia were much more easy to help other countries at this time in early 2021 when there was need for vaccine. So we can say now that until now, we can say that the European Union and the Americans are a higher percentage of their population are vaccinated, and that shows that it's still an unequal world where those who have the power to produce these vaccines in many cases use them for their own populations first. And of course, this stands in contrast with the idea of the World Health Organization, also with the Sustainable Development Goals, where there should be an equal share of the vaccines to stop the spread of the pandemic. Okay, that's all from my side. Thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ziegenhain, for your sharing about vaccine nationalism, what I think is a very realist perspective on vaccine distribution. So for any participant, if you have any question, please write it on the chat box. Later, after the speech from all speakers, we will select the question to be discussed. All right, so now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce our second speaker. He is Professor Madya Muhammad Naim bin Aziz. He is the Associate Professor at School of Government, College of Law, Government, and International Studies at University Utara Malaysia. He got his PhD in International Migration Administration from University Science Malaysia in 2015, and his specialization include public administration, international migration, and politics and government. He has published numerous academic publications, including, I will cite the latest one, which is published in 2020, entitled Examining the Housing Experience in Malaysia, a qualitative research on Pakistani immigrant laborers. So for the next 15 minutes, we will hear from Prof. Naim. He will be sharing with us. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Prof. Muhammad Naim.
Right. Right. Assalamualaikum and thank you everybody. And very good morning to everybody. And thank you for the organizer for inviting me in this session. I'm so sorry. I'm quite weird today because I do not know. It's not compatible with my to download the background of conference. Okay, just now I'm trying many times, but it couldn't work. All right. So never mind. This is my real background. Okay, in my office. Right. Today, should I have to share the this one, or the organizer who wants to? Oh, okay. Right. Right. Okay. So I have a 15 minutes. Okay, to share with you. Okay. So first of all, again, thank you so much to the organizer for inviting me. Okay, to participate. Okay, in this conference, right? So for the time being, this conference talking about the COVID-19, still in COVID-19, okay, issue. But today I would like to convey, okay, that there's a certain perception toward the COVID-19 because before this, many people, right, talking about the economic health issue, and then they're talking about the social issue, right? So today I would like to talk about the issue on the international migration, right, in Malaysia. Okay, what happened to them? Okay, so okay, so this is my presentation outline. Okay, the first phase we're going to talk about the overview of the COVID-19, and then we're talking about the border issue. Okay, exit and entry of the migration, like the inflow and the deportation of migrant, and then we're going to talk about the human rights issue. There's several, human rights issue that have been raised, okay, become a limelight, okay, in this pandemic era. And then finally, we're going to talk about the immigration and management issue, right? Immigration and management issue, okay, like integrity issues. And then we're going to talk about the government responses, okay, to the issues that related to the migration in the pandemic situation. Next. Right. This is basically some overview of the pandemic situation since February last year, right? So as far as we know, in Malaysia, it started by February, okay, 2020. This is the first case, detected, okay, and then we were told that the first case is the import case, right? Not the local case. And then that particular patient that be quarantined at the Sungai Buloh hospital. And then after that, this is the lack of in terms of the management of the pandemic, because by the then government, I think they are underestimate and was not taken this is a primary issue. And then of course they are failed to take a responsibility in managing the crisis, and then prevent the crisis from spread up. And then after that, for your information, ladies and gentlemen, so basically we have another issue. This is become is very chaotic, very headache. Okay, especially to the public, I mean to the Malaysian, thinking about the political situation in Malaysia, right? It started when the Tun Mahathir resigned, okay, or stepped down, okay, from the become the prime minister. And then after that, the situation, I mean, there's no political stability in Malaysia until now. But recently, we were told that there's, I mean, between the opposition and the government, and I mean, the ruling party, they already got consensus, okay, in the political ceasefire, okay, to focus in mitigate COVID-19 in Malaysia right now. So I think this is a good news, okay, to the Malaysian, where I mean the political parties, they are focusing, okay, to the main issue, okay, in Malaysia, which is I mean the pandemic COVID-19 and the economy issue, right? So because actually basically this it will give some impact, okay, to the economy directly, okay, because of course the investor they want to come here and invest, right? So they will wait and observe, okay, the political situation. So because we hope this issue will end, and then the pandemic also will end, okay, immediately, right? So next please. Okay, this is a first issue that we're going to discuss. Okay, this is regarding to the border situation, okay, border issue, right? So there's an exit entry issue. Okay, the first issue, entry issue, this is related to the Rohingya ethnic groups. Okay, landed last year. There's a two times. There's a huge, I mean, the group. Okay, from the Rohingya. And then I'm not going to talk about what the government response. So maybe later we're going to talk about what the government respond in this issue, right? So this is become a international limelight, okay? Because they are talking, they said the government didn't do anything in discrimination, okay, towards towards the I mean the Rohingya people, right? And then they said I mean the Malaysian government violate, okay, the international law, especially the what they call it, non-refoulement policy, okay, by United Nations. Okay, this is an issue. So later we're going to talk about what the government respond on it. And then another issue. This is this year, okay, where the Malaysian government was criticized for deporting 1,200 Myanmar back to their home country, hometown. Right. So basically, this is we have to clarify a little bit, okay, about the claim from the human rights group, right? And in fact, they are challenged, okay, to the High Court in Kuala Lumpur, okay, because they said some of the migrant being sent back to Myanmar, they are actually asylum seekers and what they call it. Another one is the refugee, right? So okay, never mind. So this is an issue that I'm going to highlight, and then after that we're going to talk about, because we have a 50 minutes here, right? So of course we cannot. I mean, they elaborate much, okay, about these two issue, right? So this is very interesting, right? Okay, next, madam. Okay, this is about the human rights issue. Okay, first, just now is talking about the border issue, right? Another one, the second one, the next up is human rights issue. First, we got, I mean, the claim by Al Jazeera, okay, because I think in Indonesia and Malaysia and the rest of the world, they know about this issue, okay, because it's already highlighted by the Al Jazeera, okay. They said, and in fact, they have a documentary, okay, on lockup in Malaysia's lockdown, okay. So they accuse Malaysian government mistreatment of migrant workers in Malaysia. There's a lot of issue. There's a lot of contentious. Okay, so we're going to talk later about this. Okay, so this is an issue because, yeah, because people, they should know what the Malaysian policy. Okay, what the enforcement policy. Okay, so they have to respect. I mean, in terms of the the what they call it the 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 government system, okay, for the each government system. There's no interference, okay, from the others, okay. And then okay, another one is illegal migrant detained at the overcrowded detention center, right? So this is one of the issue, right? Because they said the government they made the operation in the pandemic time, right? So that's why they I mean many of them been detained, right? Been detained and then they've been placed in the detention center, and this is overcrowded, and of course they cannot practice the physical distancing. And for your information, ladies and gentlemen, many of them, okay, many of cases, right, related to the migrant, okay, especially in their hostel and detention center in Malaysia. All right, so the next one is a lack of food supply and risk of hunger among the migrant in Malaysia. Okay, so basically, what we can say that this issue, it might be there's a few situations where we can relate, okay, with this kind of the issue, the food supply and the risk of. So first, of course, when the pandemic, okay, took place, okay, in Malaysia. So of course, basically we cannot many of the the sector, okay, manufacturing, okay, plantation, right? So they have to shut down. Okay, some of them they have to shut down for a while, then some of them they have to shut down for good, right? So that's why they couldn't among the migrant, okay, many of them they couldn't afford to access, okay, the basic needs by that time. Right. So that's a three situation due of the food supply and risk of hunger, because many of them are living outside of a city. Okay, living, some of them, okay, not many of them living, some of them living outside the city center. Right. So because as far as we know that the NGO, the civil society, the government, they more focused, okay, in the city area, okay, rather than the suburb area, the outskirt area. Right. The second one is undocumented migrant. What they call it? This is undocumented migrant. They scared to go to go out because they are worried if they are being arrested by the government, by the authorities by that time, right? So so that's why they hide, okay. They don't want to expose, okay, to the authority because they are very scared. They are so worried, okay. If they are they are being erased, okay, and then maybe most probably they will send to the home country for good, okay, right. And then the third one is some migrants stay at the EMCO. EMCO stands for Enhanced Movement Control Order area. So of course they cannot access to outside. Of course, even the local people, they cannot go to the out. They cannot go out, okay, and they cannot go to the work, right. So this is the policy that have been implemented, okay, in Malaysia, okay, within the pandemic, with pandemic order. Right. So the second one is the next is improper living condition, right? Just now we're talking about the overcrowded detention center. So this is their improper living condition. So this is the same thing where most of them they are living in the overcrowded, okay, hostel, right, and overcrowded rooms, right. So of course they could. I mean, they couldn't practice. They couldn't exercise the what they call it as the physical distancing or the social distancing, right? So another one is the last one is about the human right issue, is labor right violation. Okay, labor violation, particularly by the employee in the pandemic situation. So basically, some of the employer, when they have a problem with the business, right? So they have to shut down the business, right? So of course they cannot afford, okay, to pay to the workers, right? So that's why never mind. Actually, the government, they have made a policy, they have made a new regulation towards the employer, because many of them, okay, they couldn't get paid, okay, in the pandemic, right, for months, okay, and since last year maybe, right. So that's why uh, uh, the government right now, they are trying, okay, to manage, okay, the right of the migrant in Malaysia, okay, properly. Okay, next. You know. All right. Okay, this is a large issue of immigration, okay, in Malaysia. So basically,
Excuse me, Prof. Naim. There is only 1 minute left, so maybe you
oh,
want
okay,
to.
okay, never mind. Okay, I try to speed up. Right. So, okay, this is about the integrity issue, the immigration stamp forgery, syndicate temporary work forgery. Okay, this is an enforcement issue. Okay, this is a very typical issue. We're going to talk later. Okay, next. Okay, this is very important to me. Right. All right. So this is how the government respond. Okay, the immigration issues in the pandemic. First, the government has decided. Okay, this is related to the Rohingya issue that landed in Langkawi, Malaysia. Okay, because by that time the government, decided, okay, to close the border, okay, to close the border, either illegal refugee or whatsoever, even the legal one also, they cannot, okay, they cannot get in, okay, by the time, because this is, the policy under the pandemic, okay, under the pandemic order, right. And then and another one, who, the Rohingya who come to Malaysia, they are actually not from the Arakan. They are from Bangladesh. Okay, they are from Bangladesh. Because this is not for the politic, but this is for to get a better economy or better living. Okay, in Malaysia. Okay, the next one is the Malaysian government had said that those illegal migrants have completed their sentence. So this is the policy by the government, right? So those who have completed their sentences, so they have to send back to their home country. Okay, and then the Malaysian government have followed the standard. All the operation they made by the government, they have to follow the SOP. It's not necessary in the pandemic, but other normal situation also. Okay, the government have been done as based on, because they know everybody, they will see to the government action. Okay, toward this. The vulnerable group. Right. And then the Malaysian government also announced that for the social security, this is for domestic workers, including foreign domestic workers and local domestic workers. Right. Actually benefited to the more than 100, okay, domestic workers in Malaysia. And then the Malaysian government also introduced an e-wage system. This is basically according to the one of the cases where the illegal migrant commit suicide, okay, due to the employer didn't pay, okay, since February. Okay, since February this year. Okay, so according to that, I think this is a reactive. Okay, this is not a proactive action by the government. This is a reactive action by the government. So the government, they have to introduce the e-wage to ensure all the workers, okay, local or the foreign workers, they will get paid in real time. Okay, they will get paid in real time. And then, of course, the government also, they ask the employer, okay, the employer have to convince, okay, the government, especially Ministry of the Human Resource, okay, to provide the proper accommodation in order they are permitted, okay, to get another foreign worker, okay. And then, of course, the vaccination also, we offer to the foreigners for free. And then, the involvement of NGO, civil society, and individual, okay, in helping in Malaysia, Okay, last one, you are so rushing, right? I'm so sorry. Right, so this is a conclusion. In general, okay, in conclusion and in general, I do agree there's some issue of the immigration in Malaysia, but frankly speaking, I'm not, even though I'm the government servant, okay, I'm not saying, okay, all the government did, okay, this is true, because yeah, some of them, but we have to clarify why the government, okay, why the government did, because we cannot, see only one side. We cannot prejudice from the any time, because, and in fact, there's I have a friend in the NGO. Okay, I have a friend in an NGO, and I told them, okay, if you want to make any statement, so please make sure your data is win-win situation. You must get the data from the informant, the responder, and at the same time, you have to cross your data to the government authorities, right? So, frankly speaking, the government so far in Malaysia, they have respond properly and fairly, okay, in the case of the migration in Malaysia. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking time. Okay, I cannot cope. I cannot manage my time properly. I'm so sorry. Okay, thank you so much to others. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you so much, Professor Naim from Malaysia. Thank you for your sharing about migration dynamics during the pandemic. And for the participant, again, please write down your question on the chat box because the committee will select some question to be discussed later after this. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will gladly welcome our next speakers. Let me introduce him. His name is Professor Jose Chiu Si Chen. He is professor at the Department of Public Management and Policy, Tung Hai University. He's a professor, also the honorary president in Taiwan Association for School of Public Administration and Affairs, visiting professor at the Development Academy of the Philippines, committee member of Research, Development and Evaluation Commission in Taiwan, counseling consultant, Taiwanese Turn-On Alliance in Taichung City, Taiwan, and FIDEM project country expert. He is also a consultant member, a consultant in Taiwan Counselors Forum, standing supervisor, Academy of Taiwan Local Governance, board member of the Chinese Association of Public Affairs Management, and board member of Social Impact Institute of Taiwan. And Professor Chen, he got his PhD in public administration from the National Chengchi University, Taiwan, and Master of Public Administration at Public Administration National Chengchi University, also in Taiwan. His research interests include cross-sector governance, non-profit organization and management, public human resource management, civil society, and the third sector, urban governance and policy planning, social enterprise and innovation, urban and local revitalization. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please give your warmest welcome to Professor Chen.
Hello, everyone. Especially thanks goes to our dear moderator and go to the host of conference. Thank you for this invitation, and I'm so honored to be here join this conference. And okay, right now I try to share my screen by my own, so I need to ensure is my screen shared to you right now? Can you see my slides? Okay. I'm sorry. Can you say again? Can you see?
We can see it, Prof.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. So this is my topic for sharing. It's about the integrated approach, how to to achieving the SDGs in Taiwan. As a public administration scholar, researcher, recently I keep thinking, ask myself a question, which is lead me thinking very serious about how we can solve the problem, how we can
Excuse me, Prof. Chen, before we proceed further, could you please make it full screen, your presentation?
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, so let me continue my presentation. So I keep thinking this question very seriously about how to enhance my ability to solve the problems. So SDGs SDGs, the existence of SDGs present that there are so many diverse problems in our happens in our daily life. So I think this is a big scale to me. According to my observations, it even a big scale to the government. So which is not easy. And based on my personal research interest and background, I spent a lot of time working with a nonprofit organization. I think maybe the other strategy is we can do action research, and we can extend our thinking and to the practitioners. And by this way, we can having a good practice of networking by sharing our experience, by sharing our observation and innovative technologies, by applying all of them to some use to a certain scale. That might be a good strategy. So today I would like to present this topic by this outline. In my previous slide, I tried to explain my mindset to you all. That is, the core question is how we can enhance the influence and how we can enhance the ability to solve the problem, finding out the solutions. So that will be a huge challenge to all the areas in different countries. And in these presentations, I choose one issue, which is animal husbandry and agriculture. We all realize there are so many problems in how to treat the waste from the animal husbandry and agriculture. According to my personal observations, I think this problem is getting serious in the rural area. And especially right now, during the epidemic, COVID-19 epidemic, we can realize those are agriculture industry, husbandry industry, they are important, and those industry activity are even equal to the issue of public health. So how can we to improve the environment in this in the rural area, in the area of agriculture or husbandry? That will be one important issue. By solving that kind of problem, we actually try to achieving SDG goals. So that's the reason why I choose these issues. And I also choose one, based on that, I also choose one cases, which is by organic approach to treat, to deal with the Western agriculture and husbandry waste issues. So later I will show you the problem, the cases. And in these cases, the core value, the core issue is how we can show people, we can lead them go through the way to create added value for their work, work, and how we can meanwhile how we can solve the waste problem. So that's the basic structure. And in this slide, I try to conclude some related SDGs here with the children issues. So we all realize we are actually looking for a balance between ecological development, environmental protection, and social progress. So while I choosing the agricultural and husbandry issues, we all realize that's those industry actually produce serious Southwest province. So we need to deal with that. But there are some traditional way to do it for it. But right now I'm thinking about how we can apply the innovative way. But the truth is technology is not a problem. As a PA scholar or educator, I realize the information asymmetry is a problem. We can see the government has willing and they do provide subsidy or grant to industry, to individual peoples for this kind of issue. But due to the information gap and other reasons, those policies are not well known by the stakeholders. So even some stakeholder they aware about those informations, but the communication problem will come to the table. So how to make a good coordination, collaboration, communication, those kind of 3C strategy are very important, and 3C, and those are also our core knowledge as a public administration scholar or educator. So I realized maybe I can focus on this issue to present some experience I observed in Taiwan for you all. So in this case, as you can see, the number A SDGs talking about a decent work and economic growth. So agriculture and husbandry are also looking for a good economic growth. How we can create added value for that kind of industry, that is important. Those animal waste are not valued, didn't receive the appropriate value in the past. But to be honest, if you put a circular economy concept include the circular economy to thinking about that, there are some practical ways to make this dream come true. So that's one of the important factor in my presentations. So we need to figure out some positive action. For example, for the climate actions, we all realize the emission of GHGs is getting serious and serious, and certain percentage of the emission come from agriculture or husbandry industry. So how to deal with those issues? I think the bio-organic technology can help. So by this way, if we can take care of that issue, we also doing making some good result for the clean water and the sanitation and the life on the land. So that's the reason why I include those SDGs in this slide. But the core issue is how can we establish a partnership for those goals? As I mentioned before, the government force actually they arrange budget, provide grant for this purpose. But who have the information? Those people in need, are they able to access those informations? So as a public administration researcher, I'm thinking about that's where we can contribute our knowledge for the society and for those minor stakeholders. So I figure out a framework. In this slide, you can see the children issues here is how we can deal with the livestock waste, agriculture waste. And to be honest, I'm not sure the situation in your country, but in Taiwan, you know, when you try to establish a animal farm or have a big scale agriculture activity, like usually in a remote area, which means in a rural area. So if there are some cost, you know, that doesn't control very well, that will bring the impact to the people living in the rural area. So in the democracy system, it's kind of inequity issues, and then the situation is getting serious. That's the reason why we so-called NIMBY effect, NIMBY situations. So, but to be honest, there is no many choice for these situations. Those are for example, chicken farm, milk cow farm, and that definitely will will be established in the remote area. But the problem is how we can apply the technology and provide support to make that the place getting better and better, and compared to the traditional way. So the problem is the conflict within the community, the damage to the environment are getting serious. So the collaboration is important. How to communicate with diverse stakeholders, and help them to realize the cutting edge technology is not only invest. It actually is a investment, can help them to create the added value for their existing work. So organic fertilizer plan is my core idea. So the government arrange budget for people have willing to establish organic fertilizer plants, but few people know about that. So the ultimate information can flow through all the different kind of stakeholders. That is important. The second step, even some people receive that kind of information, but people, they are always thinking about how to preserve their existing interest. They are not in a high willing to take a try. So how to communicate with them, how to show them the data. So that's the reason why evidence-based research is so important. We have to show them the data to let them realize this is a worthy investment, not only for their own good, but also to decrease the conflict between the conflict within their community. So organic fertilizer will become a major product, and that is bring a very good interest to the farmers and the farmer association. So that's the positive circular economy system I'm thinking about, and this dream are actually coming true in Taiwan. So the BioWare Organic Company is the one I try to introduce, take them as an example here.
Excuse me,
so
Prof.
there are so many technicians.
There is only 1 minute left.
Here in this slide, I want to go through all the detail, but something important I would like to introduce is there is some patent owned by the company, but the patent is not an expensive product. They can provide the technology and facility. Then we can fermented fertilizer produce all the fermented fertilizer production process can be done within 24 hours. That is the commercial standards. If we are talking about a higher standard, they can decrease to like 12 hours, even 8 hours. So by this way, you can save a lot of territorial, a lot of land, because in the past you need a huge land in an open space. Put those animal waste or agricultural waste over there, and that's smelling. That's bring the serious problem in the community, and that takes us at least 3 months for the fermentation process. Compared to that, that's totally different. So this is a new wonder world. So that's the reason why even you're thinking about the cost and effect benefit, it is so high. Because if according to my research, comparing to the market price, by this way, in first step, you are receiving, you are helping people to deal with the animal waste or agricultural waste. But in the other hand, you are producing high value for organic fertilizers, and which is also good to the land and also good to our our life. So that's the company I want to introduce. So compare the three different way in deal with the organic waste. I think the third one is the one I want to introduce, because you can tell, you can see there are some disadvantages in the first and the second options. So the third one right now, it seems a good option for us, and the investment scale is not so big, and different scale can be chosen for different place, and we can circulate one place, and try to provide circular economy plan. So make that place become an ecological system. So by this way, we are decrease the carbon footprint. So everything we do, we are doing good for achieving the SDGs. So that's what I'm talking about. And in this slide, I give you more explanation about how we can deal with the organic waste resource. So zero waste, that is my ultimate goals in this presentation, and it is not a dream. It is an existing practice in Taiwan. So that is reason why I feel so excited about that. So this is another slide try to show you the process from organic waste and convert it into organic fertilizers. So that is good to the land, good to our water resource. And you know, in the past, the major problem is about organic waste. They are in a very high percentage of moisture. But for the organic fertilizer, you know, in this process, we can in the end we can make sure the fertilizer product in about like a 30% moisture. So we don't waste a lot of energy to deal with that. So this is another advantage I realize in this industry. So faster fermenting system is the core. So high temperature can do the disinfection, can go through the fermentation very well. And thinking about if you have your plant, and in the top of your plant, there are some solar power over there. So that is a totally green economy concept you can apply here. And every solution, every decision you make are doing good to the SDGs. So compared to my past research, recently I continue to thinking about this could be an extension of my action research. So by this way, I'm introduced. I try to persuade the people. I show them evidence. I encourage them to do a small scale experiment, and in the end, people are willing to make a change. People are willing to make a change. So this is the true story. So this is a small plan in Yujing Farmer Association, established by the Yujing Farmer Association in Tainan City, Taiwan. Okay, so this in this place, one of the major famous product is a dry mango pineapple, dry pineapple.
Professor Chen.
Good. So, but to be honest, in the manufacture process, there are some agricultural waste and bring the impact to the community. So they always thinking about how to solve the problem, and by introducing this concept and the practice and the facility to them, the problem has been solved right now. Okay, so and by this way, it also increase some job opportunity for the local people, and all the plans facility design has applied so many AI, if you are willing, you can also apply a lot of AI technology. Like you can monitor all the manufacture process through your cell phone. Then you can set up a line to tell you when you should do anything for the plan. So that depends. In some countries, maybe provide more job opportunity is important than the application of AI technology. So you can always make a decision about that. So in this table, you can compare the faster fermentation technology and the conventional ways. That's a huge difference. If you are good in calculations, just count it. You can realize this is why that's the reason why I wonder this is a good way can achieve the economic development, can solve the social conflict in your community. It can also bring very positive result for our environment protections. So right now I'm looking for the second field cases. This cases is located in the Nantou County. It is in the mountain area. So one of the famous sightseeing places, so-called Sun Moon Lake, is the most famous one in Taiwan. So in the future, if you have the opportunity come to visit Taiwan after the COVID-19 pandemic, and you already have the second dose of the vaccine, then you can travel again. You are welcome to here. I can show you our our research field. So I just give you a quick summary. Take an example of this field. In this field, it is not only famous for the sightseeing. This place is also famous with a high mountain farming. Okay, so there are so many vegetables plant over there, and the fruits as well. And according to the agricultural technology evidence, those plants, they are highly rely on organic fertilizers. If you give them a chemical fertilizer, that is not good for the plant, that is not good for the land, that is also not good for those farmers. But in the past, there is no people thinking about this point. But right now, I bring the new idea to them and try to make an integrated ways. That's the reason why in the title, I make an integrated approach as my title. So I try to make a to overview how many potential resources exist over there. I realize there are some mushroom farm over there. There are some chicken farm over there. There are some tofu shop over there. All the waste, I can bring them together, and all the waste bring there together, and we can also figure out a good formula for those farm agriculture activities. So we can figure out the best organic fertilizer for the local farmer, and by this way we can decrease the carbon footprint. By this way, because it's a mountain area, so while we are using the organic fertilizer, we are decrease our impact to the clean water resource, So that's the story, and that is a reality, and it's a true, is an ongoing actions. So I'm so happy here to tell you, to show you these small cases. Compared to the overall SDGs, I think this is just maybe you can say this is just a test, but one day if you are willing to see, I can show you how serious outcome, how positive this idea can bring the change to your community, to your township. So if we can have this kind of idea and carry out by the governmental force, providing incentive to our local farmer association. So thinking about if they are in a year, there is 100 cases supported by the government force. Then 3 years later, 10 years later, I think the SDGs goal, we can achieve the SDGs as soon as we can. Thank you all. Thank you for your listening. I'm very expecting to hear your comment about these cases, about this framework, this idea. And thank you to the conference host again. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Jose Chen, for your speech on the integrated approach for achieving SDGs in Taiwan with the focus on animal husbandry and agriculture. So thank you again for your speech, and I feel very sorry because I have to cut the speakers because honestly, I can listen to your sharing all day because they are all very interesting, but unfortunately, we only have 15 minutes for each speaker. So we will now move to the next speaker, the only lady on the panel. Her name is Mrs. Septiana Dwi Putrianti, PhD, born here in Bandung, West Java on September 23rd, 1969. From September 2020 to now, she is an assistant commissioner for monitoring implementation of merit system in civil service management area 2. She obtained her Bachelor of Economics in Development Study of Economics, University of Pajajaran here in Indonesia in 1993. And she got a degree, Master of Commerce in Development Economics, Commerce Department, the University of Wollongong in Australia in 1998. And a year later, she also got another Master of Commerce by honors in General Economics from the same university. And she got her PhD in Public Policy and Governance from the Crawford School of Economics and Government, the Australian National University, Canberra, Australia in 2010. So for the next 15 minutes, we will pass the floor to Mrs. Septiana. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mrs. Septiana Dwi Putrianti, PhD.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Endahanom. Thank you for introducing me to the audience. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Also, all the organizers, all my colleagues from Polytechnic, STIA LAN, Bandung, Jakarta, Makassar, and also from National Institute of Public Administration. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. As mentioned by the moderator, I would like to present. This is my presentation title is Challenges and Opportunity of Performance Policy Implementation in Facing the New Normal Era. Okay, I think this is my outline. We don't have much time, to talk many about this research. So I just divided into 3 parts. First of all, I would like to talk about how pandemic of COVID-19 has changed the behavior and opinions on implementations of performance policy management in government institutions. And secondly, I would like also present the findings results related to the implementation of performance management during the pandemic in central and local government institutions in Indonesia. And the last presentations, I would like to also share in a glance information of some applications that has used or applied by the Indonesian Civil Service Commissions related with the supervision of implementation of performance management in the government institutions. Okay, we start with the first part. Okay, I think we all know that the rapidly changed condition has become a very challenges, yeah, as well as a new opportunity for the government of Indonesia and also all the countries to review the performance management in the government institutions. Furthermore, thinking about how performance planning and roadmap for improving the performance of apparatus and to increase the public service during pandemic and economy in the future should be implemented. This is also mentioned by our President of the Republic Indonesia, by Joko Widodo. Yeah. In his annual public hearing speech on 14 August 2021, he underlined that we have to get lessons from the crisis and put the opportunity to keep the government for the best performance and progress in the public services. And the public services is one of the very important, yeah, in the SDGs as well. Yeah. So based on the data about the analysis of performance behavior of apparatus in some institutions, it shows the gap between the target or expected achievement and the realizations. The first diagram shows, yeah, that the implementations of the performance management in the government institution of Indonesia as a whole only can be implemented about 52, yeah, 0.16%. So the central government, in this case, especially in the ministries levels, is more able to adapt to changes in the performance system during the COVID period than in the non-ministries government institutions or other local governments. This is indicated by the findings on some of the data here. Yeah, you can see in the next slide, please. Yeah. You can see here that for the ministries level, yeah, the ministries level, they can implement it. The performance management is about 70.07. Yeah. So this is a good, the best one. Yeah. If we comparing with the non-ministries government agencies level in Indonesia, they only can apply about 48.31%. And in the local governments for the province levels, yeah, it's a good data mention, yeah, that especially for the provinces in the some of big cities or big provinces, yeah, in the western part and middle part, they have already implemented the performance management well, yeah. But if we see from the eastern part, yeah, there are still some of problems, yeah, how they adopt with the new changes of the performance management. And if we see from the cities and also districts level of the government, it still have a kind of problem for them, yeah. So we can see here that based on the data and analysis, it shows that COVID-19 has certainly changed how jobs are being done, with lockdowns and social restrictions in some places, and many apparatus were ordered to work from home. And some of the jobs available in the office could be done remotely, but some are not. The World Bank in 2020 estimates that only about 21% of jobs in Indonesia could be done remotely. Yeah. This is because of some restrictions and also some challenge of the accessibility of the internet, and also because of the economic problems. So some of the public services still couldn't be accessible during the COVID-19. And general government and financial sectors in Indonesia have the highest percentage of jobs that can be done remotely. And by contrast, like agriculture, yeah, constructions, and also tourism, related sectors in Indonesia have the lowest percentage of jobs that can be done remotely. And moreover, employee status in the highest income bracket have the highest percentage of the jobs that can be done remotely. So again, we see here that the demand for flexible and highly adaptable workers will not be only applied in the context of COVID-19, yeah, but also in the context of future structural transformation in the economy, as well as in the challenging nature of work itself. As the economy shifts from the low productivity traditional sector to high productivity modern sector, so employees are encouraged to have information and technologies literacy. And employees also should be able to do simple tasks that require use the computer and internet, as well as complex problem solving skills. So based on all this data and information, we can see that maybe the problems of the employees in Indonesia to perform well and also work as expected to have alternative working arrangement now. For example, they might have not only one permanent job, but also they can also have 2 or more jobs that can be done as temporary jobs. Yeah? This is also another challenge, yeah, for us, how we supervise the performance achievement. Yeah? And based on this data, we can see also the local governments have lower priorities regarding strengthening communities before the crisis hit, led to the lack of needed resources and support, to do the fact that the local authorities form as the front line in the global pandemic response. Along with the government and health communities, the critical role of the local authorities is also to ensure the public services functions well throughout the pandemic. So in the practical terms, local government have been struggling, yeah, especially to survive and sustainable provide basic services, public services, yeah, during the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, maybe I would like to also explain some of the problems. Yeah, why the performance management even more important? Yeah, during the new normal. The important here is that the performance management is an ongoing process and not something that's limited to yearly reviews. It requires a system that allows institutions to be efficient, under tracking, can be assessed, and then also have to be implemented the reward system, and also we have to correct employee performance as part of their day-to-day activities. So below there's also some of the applications, yeah, that used by Indonesian civil service commissions, yeah, because again this application actually very helpful, for the institution to address issues and also raise related with performance appraisal. And also we can see here that the technology side of performance management software is really can help the institutions to identify things like malfunctions and bottlenecks, and also to provide the effective performance management that might be necessary require high sophisticated or expensive software. This is there are three applications that used by Indonesian civil commissions, civil service commissions, to provide some of informations and to review how the institution applied this performance management. The first application is a CJAPTI. This is a communication information technology system that processes and integrates the entire flow of high position officials filling in government agencies, starting from consultations, submissions of selection plan documents, and also selection reports, as well as high official position database documentations. So CJAPTI evaluates the procedure of promotion of high position officials is based on qualifications, performance, and competencies. The second application that implemented during the COVID-19 is CPINTER. CPINTER is a communication information technology system to assess and audit the implementations of merit principle in human resource policy and management in government agencies. This is starting from planning, recruitment, career management, promotion and rotation, performance management, compensation, reward disciplines, protections and services, and also information system. Also, all the application is very helpful for us doing supervision. And the last is SINDEN. SINDEN is an information and communication technology system that functions as a data medium for basic value regulations related with codes of ethics, codes of conduct for government agencies, both central and regional. And this is starting from the ownership of the one of the units. Our unit is the supervision of ethics, and also we implemented how the code of ethics assembly and also the maturity assessment index for agencies in enforcement. So code of ethics IS and code of conduct is a part of performance indicators for apparatus. Okay, so this all application is really helpful for us, and then this performance can be supervised, and in overall the social distancing measures are still can be implemented. And then we also can see here that the data that I find also based on the information for the system. And what it does requirement is an easy and efficient way to track metrics and identify issues on a day-to-day basis, so quick changes can be made when needed. So in this application, we can see and we also can check day per day how the institution have been implemented all the indicators of civil service management. Okay, I think all the presentations has already completed. It's already 15 minutes. And thank you for your attention. I hope the presentation is useful. If you have any questions, you can just ask and I will answer them in the questions and answer sessions. Thank you. Keep healthy and happy. Keep your spirit high and all the best.
Thank you, Mrs. Septiana Dwi Putrianti, PhD, for your sharing. What an interesting sharing on how the government managed the changing work by the civil servant in Indonesia. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will still have several panels who will be joining us. Now, we'll listen to the next speaker. Allow me to introduce, his name is Mr. Christian Widya Wicaksono, PhD from Catholic Parahyangan University. Mr. Wicaksono got his bachelor degree in public administration from Catholic Parahyangan University in 2009, in 2004, and also master degree in public policy and administration, also from the same university in 2009. And for the next 15 minutes, Mr. Wicaksono will be sharing about community-based economic empowerment, an alternative for community development after the COVID-19 pandemic. He got his PhD in political science from Tung Hai University, Taiwan. So this is the same university with Professor Jose Chan. So ladies and gentlemen, please give your warmest welcome, Mr. Christian Wicaksono, PhD.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Andahtri Anomsari, for the introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to proceed to my presentation. The title of my presentation is Community-Based Economic Empowerment as an Alternative of Community Development After the COVID-19 Pandemic. I try to raise, let's say, an optimistic features in Indonesia. I mean, we have a bright future after this pandemic. So don't be too worried about the pandemic. We try to build our step one by one, stage by stage, bit by bit, and try to overcome the problem during this pandemic and after that, after the pandemic. Okay. Let me proceed to the next slide. Oh, okay, so I can share my slide. Okay. I hope you already see my slide. Thank you. Okay, I continue to the next part. This is the part of the introduction. So COVID-19 and its secondary effect are causing widespread suffering and disruption, particularly in developing countries. And poor and marginalized groups generally see the pandemic as the crisis on the top of other existing crises, while donors, multilateral organizations, and non-governmental organizations warn that COVID-19 and the response to it could undo progress toward the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So I quote this statement from the UK House of Commons report, COVID-19 in Developing Countries Secondary Impact, which published in 2021. I would like to emphasize that we need to be careful. We need to be put our effort more seriously and on how to keep all the efforts to achieve the sustainable development goals are still on the track that we expected together. Okay, I move to the other slides. Early data for some countries that implemented social distancing measures in the mid and late March indicate severe downturns. Let's say in India, urban employment fell 31% between March and April. It is in 2020. In Peru, employment fell to 25% in the quarter February to April 2020 with respect to the previous year. And then in Colombia, employment in April was 24.5% lower than in April 2019, while the share of workers working less than 20 hours a week increased from 17% to employed persons to 57.4%. In Chile, seasonally adjusted economic activity fell 14% between February and April. And lastly, in Argentina, the same variable fell 10% between February and March. This is, I quote from Hevia and Numaya, which is published in 2020. So all this fact shows that the situation in developing country during the pandemic is quite facing a serious challenge. So many developed countries will be able to mitigate, this is the fact in the developed economic, will be able to mitigate its impact and social costs by reallocating resources from safe workers to the most vulnerable. However, on the other side, these kinds of policies are unlikely to be available in emerging economies, where the trade-off between health and wealth will be felt acutely. I think this is one of the problems happening in Indonesia. Which one we want to prioritize, wealth or health? It's like a competing value one to another. Okay, I proceed to the next slide. Developing countries are typically poorer, working to advance economically and socially. Their infrastructures are not as developed as those found in the Europe and the United States. They also rely on primary sector roles, all activities that involve the extraction of natural resources such as agriculture, mining, forestry, are thus particularly vulnerable to be disrupted supply chains and lower demand for their products. So this is another challenge that we have to face, especially in the developing countries. So this is the global economic impact of COVID-19. There is some of countries here. So we can see that how the baseline scenario, which is in the orange line or orange color, and then the risk scenario pandemic in the blue color. And most of the country facing that there is a very worst scenario, which is the economic growth can be negatively, can be under the negative number. Okay, so what happened in the, let's say in the developing country is the domination of import product on the local market as an effect of neoliberalism. Low price, attractive packaging, better quality, classy social image makes this, let's say, import product more become a prima donna rather than to the local product. No other options since the scarcity of local product and then low capital that faced by the developing country, limited distribution networks, high production costs, conventional technology, and market distrust on local product become another challenge for developing countries. So open system, on the other way, open economic system in developing countries cannot stop the imported products. So the competition is unavoidable for local products. This situation creates the nuance of injustice that were quite contrasting. The injustice situation then leads to 4 impacts. First is the erosion. Sorry, let me come back to the, okay, the erosion of human existence, and then the enhancement of consumerism culture, And then even it has a serious impact on the political behavior, which is instant ticking that leads to the automation of political behavior in democracy. So people, when they vote, they can be buying. They vote, they can be buying by the political actors. And then the last one, which is also, let's say, admitted by Fukuyama under this situation, what he called it as the spiritual emptiness because of the domination of neoliberalism. Okay, what I'm trying to propose here is an idea through a community empowerment. Because let's say large-scale economy intervention sometimes cannot meet the unique needs of the local community. So here we want to see empowerment is viewed as the development of three dimensions of community strength, namely political, social, and psychological based on the reference to the understanding of the community itself. Then community-based economic empowerment is the conscious participation of humans as members of the community that relate to the environment both physically and socially. And we must remember that community-based economic empowerment is not an instant over, but it is a conscious effort that systematically and gradually reaches an economy application that is equitably suitable with the rational calculation of risk. Then community-based economic empowerment is an alternative political development that gradually seeks to create equitable economic conditions. So I want to emphasize here, community-based economic empowerment uses a participatory approach through the process, increasing the capacity of the community consciously and independently in order to generate capital, to create income that can be enjoyed by the community members fairly. So all the community members can, let's say, can accept their advantage from the process. And then community-based economic development aims to strengthen the local economy institution because that have been popular with community members themselves. Macro globalization flows have marginalized the role of local economic institutions such as in Indonesia we know as a koperasi. Globalization makes the world increasingly catastrophic. Therefore, in an increasingly globalized economy, local economic institutions need to enrich role and function. One of them is revitalizing their role limited to the narrow scope of economic activities. The local economic institution in community-based economic empowerment are encouraged to mutate it into economic institutions that play a role in implementing economic development strategies based on utilizing local communities' potential. So it is based very on the local capacity. So the concept of the community-based economic empowerment aims to erode the mastery of economic resources implemented monopolistic, which expected to form a new relationship, namely sharing benefits transparently and participatively among community members. The distribution of benefit can be carried out through a network of sustainable and mutually beneficial partnership for all actors involved in the production process following their contributions. Therefore, there is no structural segregation where some parties are superior and other inferior. It is different from the form of the new companies where capital owners are fully authorized to determine the wages entitled to be received by employees and do not involve employees in the decision-making process. Therefore, constructing a business mechanism in community-based economic empowerment will evolve into a conscientious human effort. The benefit obtained can be shared by actors involved in the production process fairly and take into account the preservation of nature, not merely pursuit of profit. It means that the economic architecture is not built in the framework of absolute freedom, but on justice and shared prosperity. Amartya Sen called it as social opportunities to create opportunities for the wider community to obtain a prosperous life as a rational choice according to the lifestyle that we can demonstrate it. On the other hand, the gradual development of community-based economic empowerment will help set aside the concept of trade liberalization, or we often call it as free trade, so that it naturally mutates into the fair trade to create more human, rational, and environmental friendly economic balance. Lastly, thus, the concept of community-based economic empowerment is expected to be an alternative model of development that promotes local wisdom, equality of roles in economy, preservation of nature, and a balance between aspects of materialism and spiritualism. Okay, that's all my presentation. Thank you very much. And I return the floor and the screen to Ms. Endah Tri Anomsari. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wicaksono, PhD, for your sharing. Personally, I'm very interested in your topic, so maybe we can talk about it later. All right,
Sure.
He's been sharing about community-based economic empowerment. And I also remind the participant to please write down your question on the chat box, so we will have a discussion later after this. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will welcome another amazing speaker who has been waiting quite long for his turn. I will introduce the next speaker. His name is Professor Ivan Lau. He served as the Associate Professor and Editor-in-Chief for International Journal of Business and Society in Faculty of Economics and Business, University Malaysia Sarawak. He was the Deputy Dean for Research and Postgraduate at Faculty of Economics and Business from 2016 to 2017 and the Director of the Center for Business, Economics and Finance Forecasting, also in UNIMAS from 2013 and 2016. He was at Faculty of Economics, University of Cambridge from October 2013 to April 2014 as the visiting scholar. He was also the visiting professor at Universitas 11 Maret in Indonesia from June to July in 2019. And in August to November 2020, he was selected for the World-Class Professor Program by the Ministry of Education and Culture here in Indonesia and collaborate with Universitas Muhammadiyah Malang as the research partner. He has spoken at numerous international conferences in countries like Indonesia, Uni Emirat, Sri Lanka, Italy, India, and Malaysia. And to date, he has 70 postgraduate students under his supervision, and he has examined like 45 postgraduate theses and 140 undergraduate research projects. So amazing. Thank you for waiting, Professor Ivan Lau. So this is your turn. For the next 5 minutes, we will pass the floor to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Ivan Lau.
All right, I hope everyone can hear me well. All right. Very good morning to all of you. I'm very honored actually to be invited to speak some of what that on this conference actually related to the SDG. I have listened to all the presentation before this, including the keynote, which also touched things that I'm going to mention in a way, but I'm going to continue on some of the things that have been mentioned by the keynote speaker. I'm again very honored to be here. So yeah, I mean this morning to be here at this virtual conference in Bandung. So this morning I'm in Bandung. While I'm in Bandung, I'm in Malaysia and the rest in the part of it. So so this is my topic for today. Rethinking sustainable development, a way forward. Actually, so this is a bit of my infographic of myself. You can have a look of that, but then this is not the focus of what I'm going to talk about for today. The menu for today be divided into 4 parts. I will keep the time as been mentioned by the moderator. Right, I'm going to talk a little bit on VUCA world. What is VUCA world? The second one will be on pandemic digitalization and research. That's an important part also related to the SDG actually. And number 3 is actually about SDG and the threat, which is one of the main focus, the main aim or the main theme of this conference actually. And number 4 is that what should we do about sustainable development, rethinking about reframing or not to say redo, but reframing it, retooling it, right? Retooling it and how we can move forward towards that particular direction, especially in this so-called new normal era or more of the responsible future era. This is actually a short abstract that I write based on my write-up, but I'm not going to read that thing up. This is the first part about VUCA. So what is VUCA? I view what we are having right now, even since before the pandemic, when the industrial revolution started. We are in the era of what we call as volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, VUCA. This is not a new concept. You can find the concept is actually appeared in the management business perspective. But I'm bringing that concept actually into this perspective because this is what the world we are living right now, the VUCA environment. With volatile movement, uncertainty, you do not know what is going to happen tomorrow, complexity with the pandemic, without the pandemic also complexity, ambiguity, we're not clear about the future. Related to the SDG, related to pandemic, related to the Industrial Revolution 4.0 and so on. So how should we, the solution for VUCA has been suggested by numbers of literature, is that for volatility, you must have a concept like a vision. You must have a vision, what to do, at least to put up the vision. For you, uncertainty is about understanding the situation, right? Understanding that this is one of the solutions. And the solution is not a linear solution. It's a non-linear solution, a non-linear approach. We must very brave to take the kind of a change, not only at the university level, at our level, at the national level too, and certainly at the SDG level in that sense. For complexity, you must have clarity what is going on. And ambiguity is about agility. Yeah? People talk about agile management, how country to be resilient and agile in that sense. And this very much related also with another sort of VUCA, which is visibility, unconstrained, connected, and AI. AI is very much related to technological advancement. So this VUCA, it actually not just an issue, not just a problem, but it opened up the opportunity, like been mentioned by all the previous speakers. Right, let me move forward to the next slide. So the second part of this of the menu that I have will be on pandemic, digitalization, and research. I try to bring forward these 3 these three concepts inside there. Right, where are we right now actually when we're talking about digitalization, smart city, and so on and so on, the industry 4.0, before the pandemic hit, that's the key word, the hot word, IR 4.0. Now the hot word is pandemic. I mean, certainly also SDG, related. So are we here there? This is what having in the plan, the plan for IR 4.0, transforming the city into smart, transforming the country into much more technological advancement in that sense. So where are we in that sense? Some are moving faster, some are moving a little bit slower, but the pandemic doesn't stop us. I mean, what's the proof? The proof is where we are today right now. Without the technology, we'll not be able to be connected in this way, this morning, this conference, not just this conference, every other conference that we attended right now. We are like the Zoom native right now. No longer Zoom immigrant, we become Zoom native. Zoom native because every one of us are very familiar with Zoom, not just Zoom, all these video conferencing apps today. According to the report, says that actually the pandemic has accelerated the technological advancement much more faster. Yes, we are talking about IR 4.0, but for the past more than 1 year, the technological advancement, the apps, and all those things have grown up so much. Even in our class setting, university setting, are right now very much virtual in that sense. We are moving back into face-to-face, but it still will be very much hybrid types of model and so on, right? So that's included in the business, that's included in the economy and so on. Things must go on with or without the pandemic. That's the thing I'm going to bring. It's go digital or go dark for the business. Every sectors are affected with the pandemic, and without the technological advancement, we could not moving forward. I will tell how the link towards the SDG in the world. Right, this is another slide showing that. Right, I have the privilege actually to search just in scopus.com how many papers actually published using the keyword of pandemic and coronavirus and so on. It's actually more than this now. I'm sure it's more than 150,000 journal publication just talk about the pandemic. I mean, on general, it doesn't matter what field they are in. And after that, I also managed to also just Google digitalization and the pandemic. I found that about 500 plus article. I'm sure there's more right now. This, I searched it like a week ago. So things are growing with this kind of, and I see the opportunity of research in that sense. Why I bring in research? Because research has been presented by my fellow speakers just now. Research in that sense, whether, I mean, it provides an important opportunity actually for us to live up. And so-called, we know that the SDG is under threat, but then again, research could bring forward that part. And pandemic will also, we deeply knows about the pandemic, the so on, everything about the coronavirus. Without research, we will not know more about that. And research will bring forward on that particular purposes. So that's what part of the important things that I'm going to mention here. This is one of the paper that published in one of the journal, actually shows that actually digital search grow up with the pandemic. More of digitalization, that's what we are doing right now. Right, and digital transformation of everyday life, how pandemic actually transformed basic education from young generation up to the universities and so on, up to the meetings and everything else. This is another literature interesting one. Digital technology used in pandemic. This is part of thing that we are using right now. Right, part of what we're using right now. We use more right now. Video conferencing, communication, Zoom is there, Facebook, WhatsApp, Line, and everything else that we use today. More. Right, I often tell my friends and my colleagues that I've been using more than 5 different video conferencing apps for the past more than 1 year. Zoom is there. I use Webex. We use Microsoft Teams. I use Google Meet. I use VOOV, is by Tencent, a China company, China IT top company. And I use also Skype, 6 applications that I use for the past 1 year. I mean, more than 1 year. So imagine that. And all of that actually do one thing, connecting us and ensure that we still be connected even in the pandemic time. This is one of the things that related to what also been the theme and also what I'm talking about. The goal in that sense, sustainable development goals on especially on the perspective of corporate sustainability performance. This is where they try to outline it, put on the side of ESG, right? Economic, social, and governance. In that sense, that model itself, right? Which is also very much related to, no, not economic, sorry, environmental, which is very much related to the SDG itself. All the 17s are here, the 17 SDG, right? So that's a little bit on the research part, what have been done on research, digitalization, the pandemic. And the third part will be on the SDG under threat. As been mentioned by the keynote just now, there are 5 Ps, not just the 4 Ps. I presented here only 4 Ps. The piece that is not inside here is actually what's the P just now? Planet, people, partnership, prosperity. There's another P that missing here. The 5 Ps that been mentioned by the keynote speaker, keynote speaker just now is parcel of the SDG framework itself. But these four Ps here is very important also. Accordingly to what been mentioned by the keynote also. Right? I'm not going to mention so much. This one is a very interesting homepage. You can have a look. This is actually to show the degree of SDG achievement for the whole world, including Indonesia, including Malaysia, and the rest of the countries. So here is what the meaning is here, right? If you want to look at it, this is the meaning up here. The colors mean something. Green color means that on track. A little bit, yellowish color will be moderating. Orange color stagnant and decreasing. So you can see on that part, right? This is on SDG 4. I just focus on SDG 4 because myself, we are all, most of us and all of us here, I need education. You see the trend here, interestingly, you see that Indonesia is actually on track to maintaining SDG. And Malaysia, this is Malaysia here. Malaysia is actually on stagnant. The data shows that we are on the stagnant, but Indonesia is on the move going up. Good in that sense. The data, not me. This is not from me. This is from the data of SDG that plot by this group of people. And this is quite new. And this is SDG 8. Why SDG 8? Is because related to economics. On that part, if you see that the green color, the green color means that we, especially I just focus on Malaysia, Indonesia, we actually on the track of maintaining it. Why this is important to bring forward this part? Because this bring economic growth, this bring decent work, this bring related to employment and unemployment kind of thing in the macroeconomic setting. And the rest of the world here, you see that they are yellowish color and so on. Right? This is the ranking. If you have, they have the ranking from number 1 up to I think up to near 200 because there are about 200 countries inside there. They have the ranking. Malaysia is at number. The higher the ranking means that near 100 is better to achieve it. Right? So far, this is the latest one up to 2021. No, up to 2020 data actually. We are here. Indonesia is here. Just to give you a brief through, this is mostly I plotted up, I put up the countries of ASEAN itself to see where are we. Right, to see where are we. China is above, Vietnam is above, Thailand is also above us, above Malaysia in that sense. And this is all the 17 SDG, the performance of the 17 SDG. 100% is that they fully achieve. 70% is that there's still 30% to achieve. And 66%, like for Indonesia case, means that you still have 34% to achieve. Yes, certainly the target is 2030. Right, that's been given by the keynote also. To know more about this, you can have a look of the report actually given by these authors actually, right? The authors actually, I got the data actually from I supposed to.
Professor Ivan Lau,
Yeah.
excuse me, your last minute.
Okay, thank you. No problem. I'm going in the end actually. Conclusion. I mean, how we should do rethinking sustainable development in that sense. Here is based on the World Economic Forum, right? The COVID-19 actually have shown to us our system is actually not perfect in that sense. A complex interdependent system, the fault line that emerged, and then now it's time to rebuild back the trust, the choice, approach, reset the priorities, and to grow for the system. It shows that the pandemic actually shows that our system, there's something wrong with the system itself, right? And one of the important part in that in the report actually says that one of the way that how to move forward, especially for developing countries like ASEAN itself, is actually to increase the fiscal space. Means that we have to increase our fiscal space because we have to invest a lot in to achieve the sustainable development goal for the years, for this about 10 years to come to 2030. Means that the fiscal space, fiscal position of the country is very important despite the pandemic. Right, this is part of the model. They talk about green energy, invest in green energy, certainly invest also in job and design in the digital era. This is why we are going into green recovery. The key takeaway, this is the last slide actually. We are living in the VUCA world. Embrace them, look for opportunities. Right, the pandemic actually have accelerating the urgency for agility, adaptability, and transformation into digital front. Not only for research, for business, for economics, for the government itself. Everyone involved, you and me and everyone else. Digital transformation is actually part of sustainable, inclusive, and responsible future. We are all in it, right? Whether in the next future, we are going back to face-to-face, we are going back to very much socialization. But then again, digitalization, transformation here will still stay for a long time, for sure. So I mentioned just now, increasing fiscal space for developing countries to achieve the SDG. Right, the SDG actually serve as a roadmap, as a solution for global commitment for 4Ps. Actually, the SDG is a solution for the pandemic, not just pandemic disrupt the SDG, but the other way around, SDG also solution. So number 6 there, we chart our own future with collaboration and partnership of all the stakeholders on sharing prosperity, economy, and SDG as the guide. And this is the last one, certainly nothing on that. Together, we take it higher and stronger. Together, we are stronger together. Right, and thank you very much for the time given, and I would love to have a question and answer session, and discussion after this. Thank you very much. I'll pass back to you, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Ivan Lau. So that's an interesting presentation. And I know 15 minutes are actually not enough to present about how the way we have to rethink about the SDGs during our unfavorable situation. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to close our rally of speech and presentation from the speakers, we will welcome the last, but definitely not the least. I know it will be also amazing and inspiring insights. Allow me to introduce him. His name is Dr. Rerpol Agung Nugroho. So Dr. Agung Nugroho is the head of Department of MBA program. He's also the former Vice Rector for Academic Affairs and the Dean of the School of Business Administration at Atmajaya Catholic University in Indonesia. He is also the chairman of the Association of the Indonesian Business Administration Studies. He is also a senior lecturer majoring in Business Administration and Management. Dr. Nugroho earned his bachelor degree in public administration and master of management degree from Gajah Mada University in Indonesia. Then he holds a doctoral degree in business administration from the University of Rostock, Germany. Apart from his teaching in Indonesia, Dr. Nugroho has been invited as a visiting professor in international business and cross-cultural management in Germany and Taiwan. And since 2019, he actively coordinates the Indonesian team of a DAAD-funded project entitled Global Intercultural Project Experience from 2019 to 2023 that brings together students from Peru, Namibia, Germany, and Indonesia in a global project conducted virtually. His research interests focus on marketing, international business, social entrepreneurship, retailing, corporate social responsibility, and particularly in small businesses and non-profit organizations. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Dr. Agung Nugroho.
Masih di mute ya.
Please unmute your microphone, Dr. Agung. Yes.
Thank you very much, Ibu Enda, for hosting us here in this very amazing conference. First of all, I would like to appreciate and thank the committee, and I'm very honored to be invited by the third International Conference of Administration Science Committee. I congratulate the Setialan Bandung Polytechnic for organizing this excellent conference and gathering audiences and academics from various circles and institutions. Ibu Endah, could you please to help me to share the presentations? Thank you very much. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that fighting this COVID-19 pandemic can be done by wisely taking care of our planet, and it's reflecting on all aspects of life. And education is one of the effective tools to maintain sustainability in a broad sense. Let me present my brief presentation on how to integrate sustainability issues into the curriculum of business schools. And yeah, my thought here is still very early and open to have input from you here to improve it. This quote from Hoffman inspired me in today's presentation. Business's capacity to transform society is only as great as the schools that train their future leaders. This demands that business schools reform their vision to promote business value, serving the society, so students can see business as a true calling rather than simply a career. Hopefully, what I convey here is in line with the topic of today's conference regarding sustainable development goals in the pandemic era. We as educators in business schools need to rethink what kind of curriculum can be offered to support sustainable development as stated in the SDGs. We face significant challenges as a society today. The next slide, please. From environmental problems like climate change, ocean acidifications, and habitat destructions, to social issues like income inequality, unemployment, lack of a living wage, and poor access to affordable health care and education. Moreover, the COVID pandemic has worsened the situation. Now we have questions. Why studying business and sustainability is essential nowadays? Yeah, please. According to the United Nations panel, sustainability is essential to business because it ensures that development meets the needs of current generations without compromising the ability of future generations to meet theirs. And second, sustainable development in the business allows managers to consider the environmental and societal effects of their businesses while potentially increasing profits and their bottom lines. The so-called green business program might allow students to learn about sustainable development and ways to positively impact the ecological footprints of businesses. Please, next. Weibrecht, the author of the book entitled The Sustainable MBA, said that when commemorating the Earth Day, as we know, Earth Day is celebrated around the world. It has always been a day to raise awareness and focus on environment. These issues are front and center for businesses, are increasing important and have potentially positive and negative impact on the bottom line. Next, please. And as the last speaker, this is my advantage. I will not again explain what the SDGs, but I will emphasize the ultimate principle of SDGs, that is, leave no one behind. No one should not left behind in many ways, including improving the quality of education, the goal number 4 in the SDGs. Therefore, in my capacity as an IERB committee member, I would say that the association has goals relevant to the SDGs too. Namely, IERB provides equal development opportunities for business education in Indonesia and contributing to sustainable development. Next, please. According to Navarro, current business studies or business program are missing in the mark in the 5 keys area. Yeah. The first is focus on teaching leadership from multidisciplinary views, not just from functional silo or traditional approach. And business programs should prepare students for real-world challenges by combining theory with real-world application through experience learning. The importance of adaptability, communications, innovation, collaboration, and organizational development skills, valuing diversity, cultural competence, and international business. Ethics, sustainability, and corporate social responsibility should provide a context or key themes woven throughout a business program's curriculum. Now we can raise the questions, how to integrate SDGs into business curriculum. In 2007, Global Compact launched an initiative called UN Prime, Principles for responsible management education, promoting responsibility and sustainability through business and management curricula. There are several Indonesian business schools that have joined this initiative, including Institut Teknologi Bandung. And with these 6 principles, in the next slide, this initiative will be able to encourage business schools to pay more attention to responsible business practices in their teaching. Through the 6 principles, Prime engages business and management schools to ensure they provide future leaders with the skills needed to balance economic and sustainability goals. Next, please. Now, I would like to share the finding of research by Firen on the impact of integrating sustainability in business curriculum. The research conducted by Firen in 2020 revealed that including sustainability in business school curriculum contributed to changes in students' conceptualization of sustainability and their sustainability-related attitudes and behaviors. Next, please. And then in his research article, Hoffman said that, in the 1990s and earlier, attention to social responsibility and sustainability was still limited. However, in the early 2000s, many universities offered programs under sustainable development or business sustainability. According to Hoffman, over time, business sustainability education has shifted its focus. He calls it business sustainability 1.0 and business sustainability 2.0. The first mode of teaching term, the business sustainability 1.0 terms enterprise integrations, focuses on helping the individual companies to increase profits by translating sustainability into pre-existing considerations. The second mode, termed market transformation, focuses on systemic changes in the business environment and prompts a re-examination of the corporation roles in society. This is the table comparing business sustainability 1.0 and 2.0. What is the difference between the two streams? You can see it in this table. Business sustainability 1.0 focuses on helping individual companies to increase profits by translating sustainability into pre-existing business considerations, while point 2.0 focuses on systemic changes in the business environment and prompts re-examination of the role of corporation in society. 1.0 focus on reducing unsustainability, but business sustainability 2.0 increasing sustainability. And usually they in 1.0 they attempt to identify or to aware of the symptoms, but in 2.0 they attend to causes. Usually business sustainability 0.0 teaches about how to help the future leaders get in a jobs in today's marketplace, but in business sustainability 2.0 will help them develop.
Excuse me, Dr. Agung, 2 more minutes.
Okay, thank you, Indah. Next, please. Now I would like to share approach. Yes. Business sustainability 2.0 needs some reconceptions of several concepts, like operation, partnership, government engagement, corporations, purpose, consumption, and business model and metrics. For example, in business schools, it is necessary to discuss the current consumption patterns such as responsible consumption practices, circular economics in business models, and the sharing economy. Thus, business school curriculum can transform the markets, including customers, business, governments, and other relevant institutions. Next, please. Now, I would like to share the approach we can do in business sustainability teaching. Research findings suggest a combination of approaches is most effective in enhancing students' sustainability orientations. Whereas Karin and Springer suggested three critical sets of approaches, that is reflexivity, critique, and social action or engagements. This approach encourages students to reflect on and critique the assumptions underlying different approaches to sustainability at both organizational level and personal level. Involving students in meaningful learning at personal level is key to retaining their interest. Next, please. In this slides, I just want to provide you tips how we can, the practical ways to embrace sustainability at your business school. You can read it in the major later. As a concluding remarks, I would summarize here. There is a great interest and energy in bringing sustainability more deeply into the norms of business education. And the Indonesian Business Administration Association will propose applying sustainability subjects in business schools or study programs curricula in Indonesia. And maybe in the first beginning on the compliance, we focus on sustainability 1.0, but if business schools address sustainability challenges adequately, they must also develop the skills and knowledge to teach sustainability 2.0. That is my presentations. Thank you, and I'm looking forward for discussions. Be safe and stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Agung, for your sharing and presentation about how to integrate the SDGs to the business school. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please give your virtual applause to all speakers because we have finished. Like, there is a reaction button on the bottom right of your screen. So please give reaction and love to our speakers because they have shared so many insightful and inspiring experience. And now it's time for the discussion in which we will select some question for discussion, maybe. Okay, well, there are so many questions, but the committee have selected a few of questions, so please show the question on the screen. All right. So here's the first question from Pratama Nur Apriya. This is for Mr. Dr. Patrick Ziegenhaid. Is it vaccine was equally spread out all over the world? I think every country in this world has the same rights to receive whatever the brands of COVID-19 vaccines, regardless those financial country status. Thank you. So before answering the question, maybe we will see the next question first. The second one from Hafid Aditya, I want to ask to Dr. Naim, based on your opinion, what is the truly basis or motive or interest for some country to take an active role in this migration issue of managing immigrants? So is it because of the nation constitutional, ideological, or political foundation? Interesting. Next question. The third one from Aisha, this one for Professor Jose Chen. How's Taiwan's government help small businesses and publish the security issue of doing the normal activity, such as concert and not wearing masks anymore? Next one. Hello everyone, am I audible? Could you hear my voice?
We could hear you.
Yes, clear, clear.
All right. So the next one for from Yayu to Mrs. Septiana. How do the software and application affect the new nature of workplace? Do they improve the productivity, and what challenges to make them work at local level governments? Interesting. Next one. Okay, the next one from Mr. Hendrikus. This is for Mr. Patrick Ziegenhain. Is this dependence intentionally created by vaccine-producing countries so that the problem of vaccine distribution arises for poor countries? Can COVAX guarantee to eliminate these problems? And is there no development politics within WHO by vaccine-producing countries? Interesting. Maybe there is still next question, the committee, or?
There is still more, but we could answer before we come to the next question.
Yes, comes to the next question. Maybe two more questions. All right. Okay. So this one also for Prof. Naim, how to control issue COVID-19 pandemic in Malaysia related to the implementation of education, business, the role of government and institution, and what is the strategy and policy? Is there any program or policy of resource assistance from the government to its people, and what kind of programs? All right, so maybe that's all because we won't have time to discuss everything. So maybe if the speakers, could you please give an answer short and precise, because the time is limited. Maybe we will start from Dr. Patrick Ziegenhain.
Yeah, thank you very much for these questions. Let me explain again a bit about this. Yeah, the COVID distribution was not equal. I showed this in my presentation. I showed you the graphs, particularly when these vaccines have been newly developed. Yeah? So first, as you know, as COVID-19 breakout in 2020, there was no vaccine. So all these companies worldwide started to try to develop a vaccine. Yeah. So, and they were ready end of the year and in the beginning of 2021. Yeah. So the question is, what should happen this? For example, let's say there were 10 millions of AstraZeneca were produced in January 2021. The question which I showed in my presentation was, shall this first, when they were produced in Great Britain, let's say, shall they go through to the British people, or shall they give all the exports to developing countries? This was the crucial question, yeah? And to some extent, Europeans and Americans first looked for their own before they give it to others. But I think this is, you can explain it with international relations theories and so on. You can compare it with the international system. But I just want to comment on what Dr. Christian Wijaksono has said, yeah, this community-based approach. This is like without globalization, closing the borders, nationalism, yeah? I think Indonesia would have much more victims of COVID-19 when there would be such a community-based approach, yeah? I think the cooperation of the world community globalization, that there can be export of vaccine has helped to contain the spread of the virus in this year. And of course, Indonesia imported all from China and nowadays also from all parts of the world. And they are part of a global network of trade and import-export. And that has helped to contain the virus. Okay, but that's what I did in my presentation, showed that European Union and the EU were not completely, how to say, altruistic. Yeah, they didn't do this because they want to help the world, but they first thought about themselves. And later, when the situation went better, then they exported it. So we can say this is a bit of double standards. Yeah. Okay. So that's what I wanted to make clear. I think this is the answer to both of the questions, right? Or no, the World Health Organization was mentioned in the second question. The second question was about, the World Health Organization. Who take it seriously? Yeah, Donald Trump left the World Health Organization. It's Chinese influenced, and you can take it serious what the kind of policies they are pursuing or not. And yeah, I think the Europeans and the Biden administration, to some extent, took it seriously. Yeah, they say, now first we have to care about our own people. Yeah, but then, of course, after some months have passed, then we can work together with the World Health Organization and COVAX and give also to other developing countries. And now, as you see in Indonesia, you can get also AstraZeneca, all the other things in the second half of 2021, not in the first half. Yeah, but at least now there's international cooperation in vaccines. One topic which has not been mentioned is patents, meaning the right to produce these vaccines. This is a commercial issue. Yeah, some companies make a lot of profit, of course, with these COVID vaccines. Yeah, there's a high demand; they can demand a lot of price. So there are also commercial interests. Of course, if you're, let's say, an idealist, you would say, oh, they should give it to also the recipe, how to produce these vaccines, should give it to all the countries. But there are big commercial interests. You can complain about this, but unfortunately, that's how the world is like at the moment. Yeah, there are commercial interests from not only from companies, but also from states in this world. Okay, I hope I could answer these questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zigenhain, for your answer. That's a very interesting discussion. Maybe we will go next to Dr. Naim.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you so much to Ms. Moderator. So this is, I have two questions addressed on the migration issue. And then another one is what the strategy or the policy by the government to tackle on the education and business. Okay, first I think I want to answer the question from Dr. Hafiz. This is related to the initiative by the government, right, on this vulnerable group, okay, which is migration in Malaysia. So basically, there's two types for me. And this is I think the first one is based on the humanitarian basis by the government, and also because some of the migrant, especially for the refugee, we are not rectify the policy or rectify the convention, refugee convention. So that's why there's no any policy basis can be addressed to the especially for the refugee, but for the the foreign worker, so normally we can relate with some policy, and the program have been introduced and announced by the government. Okay, for example, there's a national immunization program for free for the foreigner. This is including to the workers, and then we have a lot of this is including the Employment Act 1955, right? So this is also protect to the foreign worker. So as far as I know, there's a lot of the initiative, but not necessarily from government, NGOs, civil society, individual, to help to the immigrant, especially in the pandemic situation. Okay, the second question addressed by Prof. Dr. Dedi Mulyadi, this is related to what the strategy or the policy the government has introduced for the education and the business. I think there's even though I would like to say there's even though this is not perfect, have been done by the government, right? But they still have because normally the strategy, the policy will reflect okay, to the cases, to the situation of pandemic in Malaysia. So that's why uh, uh, what I would like to say that the government have been taken very serious, very careful measure, okay, to tackle on the issue of the education and business, okay, in the pandemic. And for education, normally the government they provide this the online platform and can give a training to the the teachers, educators, okay, how to use this kind of the platform. And then at the same time, even though this is not perfect, but because the government they promise, okay, to supply to those the B40 family, okay, B40 family with the device, okay, laptop or the tab, right? Even though this is not 100%, okay, supplied by the government, right? And then for the business, okay, for the business, those who are unemployed due to the pandemic, okay, due to the sector shutdown, right? So normally the government they have the training program, okay, training program, upskilling, reskilling, okay, to those who are have been terminated due to the pandemic. And then the government also have a moratorium, and then and in fact many of the employee, okay, they can actually withdraw the employee from the employee provident fund, okay, even though there's not so much, there's only first account, if I'm not mistaken, but they still have what they call it, the some strategy, okay, have been produced, okay, by the government. And I would like to because actually I have a 3 question here, so I jot down right now, just now. So another question is the impact of the SDG, okay, the impact of the SDG in Malaysia. So of course in Malaysia, I think almost the SDG elements, that's a 70 SDG almost is already impacted, okay, with this COVID-19. But the level of the different, but this is depends on the level of the impact, okay. Of course, health, okay, and then the economy, the well-being, okay, the family affair, okay. This is very huge for me, the huge impact, okay, due to pandemic. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Naim. And now we will move to the next speaker. Maybe it's your time, Professor Jose Chen.
Thank you, our dear moderator. I received 2 questions from our participants, which are very good. One of the questions mentioned about the cost issue of managing the waste. In the question, our participant, Kessler, also mentioned about this is an important issue. It's necessary to pay more attention on it. Especially, it's very easy to find out from some international organization like World Bank. My answer to his question, how to decrease or overcome the cost issue for business sector. My idea is, we should try to establish a ecological system in a appropriate scale. It's not a big scale compared what we see in the past. So my idea is to the government sector, you should change the mind, not only thinking about giving the grant or subsidy. I think besides of that, tax exempt or providing the necessary land to your partner, that may be also an idea for the government sector. For business sector, I think you should change the mind from the cost to the investment, or maybe to the profit idea. Because right now the current situation is you are paying money to deal with those waste. So that's a kind of cost. But you didn't thinking about how to make those waste become a profit product. So in between, that there is some space for investment. But I agree with the Kessler mentioned about the cost issue. Even in Taiwan right now, the cost issue is still important. So you cannot you cannot always thinking about in a big scale. So maybe choose one rural area nearby the metropolitan city and try to investigate the potential resource and partners. So by this way, it could be the first steps to establish ecological system in the southern area of the metropolitan city, which you can focus your product and establish connection and network to those people are able to afford those product, or maybe they can join you because they have the ideology of green consuming. So that's a rough idea, and that is also happen in other ASEAN countries as well. So the second question is talking about the security issue of COVID-19. Mentioned about Aisha mentioned about the question to me, thinking about is there any new arrangement or regulation to the small business people, then we can has a tolerance about the policy of wearing face mask. Right now, the guideline for COVID-19 prevention and control in Taiwan is always updated, and the guideline is based on the evidence, the result of COVID-19 infection case control. So right now there are some tolerance for some indoor or outdoor activity, but from my point of view, that will majorly focus on how to give the space for people to satisfy their need their need for the daily activity, or maybe also for the small business people consider economy purpose. So that's the major part. But for the concert for have a leisure activity, that will be those are always not put on the serve as a priority in while we are having the discussion on these issues. But as time goes by, right now the 2 weeks 2 weeks circle, the policy has been always updated by the period of 2 weeks. So maybe in the near future we will see more tolerance for the leisure time, such as a concert activity and other people's other activity people expecting so much. So thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chen, for your answer. And finally, for the first batch of questions, Mrs. Septiana Dwi Putrianti, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, moderator. For the questions from Ibu Yayu, the questions are just directly answer, yeah. That yes, this is a very helpful actually, how we use the applications and also technology, yeah, in terms of we help to improve the performance, yeah. And then we also see here that in the local governments, there are some of challenges, yeah, challenges of implementation of these applications, yeah, especially while, for instance, while I went to Papua province, yeah. So they have a very challenge in the geographical, in terms of geographical constraints, yeah, due to the positions of the area on the mountains, yeah, that are not accessible to the internet, yeah. Even if there is still also available of the access, there's very limited, yeah, and the signal is not really good, yeah. It is often gets disconnected or appears missing while we are doing some of like consultation, advocacy, or communication, yeah, using Zoom, for instance, yeah. So again, this is very helpful input to improve the public services and other administrative services. That it and it will be also impact on the service satisfaction, yeah, especially for the customers. Yeah, although there are still many obstacles in the use of this technology based on applications because of the infrastructure that does not support it, such as limited internet access, infrastructure, or technology literacy, but it's still really helpful for us. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Septiana, for your answer. We will still have like 5 minutes, and there are still burning questions for our speaker. So please, the next question. Okay, the first one is, yeah, this is for Mr. Christian Wicaksono. In relation with community empowerment, I think it is more important to discuss about social capital as a part from our effort to handle COVID-19. In my observation, the one asked is Mr. Tatang. All government apparatus as a policy actor in any level of government didn't bring maximally informal leaders to give insight to people that COVID is a realistic, not hallucination. What is your opinion? Thank you. And the next burning question, this one is from April in Bandung, Indonesia. This is for Professor Ivan Lau. How to encourage more scholars to research about rethinking SDGs, and do the research bring impacts to national policy in doing SDGs? If so, how to do that in your experience? So maybe that's it, or is there still any question? Oh, one more. This is from Mr. Saputra, who would like to ask about what is the service industry marketing strategy in lockdown, conditional, and new normal. This is maybe for Mr. Agung, right? Okay, thank you. We still have 5 minutes, so I will pass the floor now to speakers to answer the question. Maybe Mr. Christian first.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. I will straightly answer the question. So actually, in this presentation, I want to emphasize that empowerment itself is viewed as developing 3 dimensions of community strength. First is political, secondly is social, and thirdly is psychological. So all of this dimension is based on the community understanding itself. So not on the initiative or coercion of party outside the community. So it's solely based on the understanding of the community itself. Therefore, as the author of this paper, I believe that empowerment is highly related to social capital. To be precise, empowerment is an effort to increase the social capital itself. So I quote the Coleman in 1998. Social capital is people's ability to work together to achieve common goals in various groups and organizations. Social capital is just as important as physical capital, such as land, building, machinery, and the others. And also it's also important as human capital, which is skills, knowledge that possessed by human. Because all of these 3 types of capital become complementary prerequisite dimensions for a community to lead to a welfare place. So by this way, I want to emphasize my point that yes, social capital is highly important when we talk about community empowerment. Without social capital, there is no collaboration. This is the, this is the keywords that I want to emphasize here. And I hope, I know that this community-based development is a proposed idea that I tried to discuss with all the participants. So improvement, add more comments, add more, let's say, inputs and suggestion to improve this idea is very important. Thank you very much. I think I already answered straightly to the question.
Thank you, Mr. Wicaksono. And now I will pass the floor to Professor Ivan Lau.
Thank you very much, actually, for the question. I mean, this is how I think about it. We still carry on with doing our research. I mean, partly as part of the academia world and especially education, and we try to link our research with what is available in the SDG as what been the focus. Actually, I give one example. Like myself, actually, I'm in economics, actually. So if you look at the SDG itself, it seems like we only involve in SDG 8, in particular, because that SDG 8 actually talks about economic growth, but the rest of it seems to be like, we are not so much related in that sense. No, the answer there is wrong. You know, on whichever that we do, even though we do something that related perhaps to social side or to economics and so on, we try to link that how to do that. In that at that part itself, so that our research is relevant also for the SDG. That's one. The second part is that what have been done at the national level. Here, I give the example here in Malaysia. Here, so I think my colleagues, my friends here from the UUM perhaps can justify that also. But at the national level, at the ministry level, at our Ministry of Higher Education level, and in fact the government itself have focused also on the SDG, how to achieve the SDG, and put it at the national policy, put it also inside the our education blueprint, also put it under the research grant that we apply at the national level, what we call under the Ministry of Higher Education. So the grant, right now the grant holder, the ministry, whenever the researcher want to apply the grant, they have to link their research with the SDG goals. Either it's number 1 up to number 17. They have to link that part of it and be relevant of what you propose in that sense. So that's how the encouragement, I guess, the second part of the encouragement, and how we involve directly or indirectly into SDG. And surely also, as what we mentioned by Dr. Agung just now, the universities in Malaysia also moving towards that particular direction, how to embed the SDG inside the course itself, right? The ministry asking about, so now your course, you teach all the subjects all this while, how is your course content be relevant with the SDG? Not just to create something and, put in there, no, but what have you done that link towards the SDG, as what Prof. Jose Chen also mentioned on the project in Taiwan and so on. So those things are relevant in that sense. So we don't see something SDG is something very alien up there. It's something that is already embedded inside with us all this while. It's just that right now we formalized it into a much more process, as we mentioned also by Christian just now, and certainly on that section. So formalize it, empower it in that sense, empower the research and bring it forward to the higher level. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Ivan Lau. And for the last question, Dr. Agung, is that okay? If you answer the question?
Okay, I try to answer it. Although it is not an easy easy question to be answered, but because this situation, the crisis, the factors are mostly under our control, under the company's control and people controls. But I think for the business, in order to be survive or to grow in this era, you have to be very adaptive. And then the other key is co-creation. It means that the businesses have to embrace not just their partners, but competitors as well as the customers. So co-creations is one of the key how we can create innovations and then to adapt with this pandemic situation, because in the we do not know in the future, because every day this the situation changes. Thank you, Wenda.
Thank you, Dr. Agung. So now finally we reach the end of the session. But before closing, I would like to remind all of us that we have discussed about so many things, a variety of topics from the Dr. Adi Suryanto, which highlights about the challenges and opportunities in achieving the SDGs, and later Dr. Zagan Hain share about vaccine nationalism, and Professor Muhammad Naim about the managing international migration during the pandemic, and about the human rights issues about immigrant. And Professor Chen about the integration approach for achieving the SDGs, particularly how to create added value and solve waste problems and agriculture. And Mrs. Septiana also shared about the changing nature of workforce during the pandemic and how we respond to that by using application and software to make work easier from home. And Mr. Christian Wicaksono, PhD, talking about community-based economics. This is kind of a new way of doing economics. It's different from the more institutionalized companies. And also there is Professor Ivan Lau. He discussed about rethinking sustainable development. So we have to rethink about the SDGs by, there are several things that we can do, such as collaboration, fiscal space, digital transformation. And there's also Dr. Agung about how we integrate sustainability to business school, because it will change the student conceptualization, attitude, and behavior on sustainability. So thank you for all speakers. Thank you for coming. See you on the next occasion. And I will now pass the floor to the MCs. Thank you so much. So maybe no, we have to take picture first before before we leave, because for memory. All right. Okay, so the participants also can turn on their camera so we can take picture together. Okay, the operator, could you help us to screen all participants?
All right. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, it's all good, all good. All right, thank you so much, Miss Enda, for leading through this event, with the amazing speakers. And ladies and gentlemen, we have reached conclusions of our opening ceremony. And before I end this opening, we would like to present the certificate to the speakers. Number one, the first certificate is for Dr. Muhammad Naim Aziz. Thank you so much for coming to this amazing event.
Thank you so much, the organizer.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And the second certificate is for Professor Jose Chan. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and the third certificate is for Even Lau, PhD. Thank you so much for your insight. And the fourth certificate is for Dr. Patrick Ziegenhain.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And the fifth certificate is for Dr. Agung Nugroho. Thank you so much
very
for sharing with us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And the sixth certificate is for Dr. Adi Suryanto, MC. Thank you so much. And the seventh certificate is for Septiana Dwi Putrianti, PhD. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And the eighth certificate is for Christian Widya Wicaksono, PhD. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we would also like to ask you for a good picture. Please turn on your camera and give your best expression. There will be 5 times. Can you give us the best expression of yours, guys? Please turn on your camera. Has everybody turned on your camera?
All right, I think, yeah, they have.
Okay.
I think they
Okay,
have. All
we'll
right.
continue. Please give the best expression of yours and smile. I will count. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Next slide. I will count. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the third slide. Okay. 1, 2, 3. All right. The fourth slide. Still smile. Okay. Keep smiling. I will count. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the last one. The best expression of yours, guys. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you so much, guys. And finally, this is the end of the first session. I would like to extend our gratitude to all the speakers and participants. See you in the next session very soon. This is Yustika and Fauzira signing out. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And there is an extra announcement, ladies and gentlemen, like from the
Fauzira, the announcement is for participant. I would like to express again my gratitude for the speakers. Thank you for coming, sir and madam. See you on the next occasion.
See you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
The speakers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Goodbye. See you.
See you soon.
See you.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.